Yeah, hello everybody and welcome. This is the Apostate Prophet Son. How's everybody doing? How's everybody doing? Everybody having a good time here today and tonight? David, what's up? How you doing?
Are all these wigs like an orthobro thing or what?
What are you talking about?
I'm saying, ever since you became an orthobro, you've been obsessed with wigs.
Oh, yeah.
What are those things you got in your beard?
I got these things in my beard to make my beard more special here. As you can see. Isn't it beautiful?
You got those on some of your braids too.
Yeah, I do over here. This is my new style. That I need to go into a new direction. Need to have a new style here. Need to have a new style for this, a new look for this channel, because I think things were getting a little bit old very, very quickly. So I have to come here and do something new. You could call me Lil AP from now on. Lil AP, the humble Mahdi. Yeah.
Keep it going. Lil AP, the humble Mahdi.
Lil AP, the humble Mahdi. Yeah, son. Hey, Dave, what's up? How you doing, man?
Hey, what's up, man?
Not sure why you're joking here. Yeah, nothing. How are you doing?
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Mr. Bombastic. Fantastic. Yeah. So David, hey, hello everybody and welcome. Hello everyone. What's up? Yes, this is actually AP is no orthofari.
Orthofarian.
Orthofari. That's good. No, this is actually part of the process of catechism when you enter the Orthodox Church. So when you become an Orthodox Christian, when you are in the process of becoming an Orthodox Christian before you are baptized or chrismated, whatever it is, you are.
Did you say before you're cremated?
Chrismated, which is different. But before you go there, before you do this,
same basic idea, though, right?
Yeah, into the church, you're supposed to undergo some changes. So as I was listening to my priest and also looking at some certain things like introduction into the Orthodox Church and catechism and all that, I came across the phrase very frequently, or the idea very frequently, that becoming part of the church and becoming part of the body of Christ and of Christianity and all that comes foremost with undergoing changes in one's life. So the message to me was very clear. I have to change my look. So that's why I decided to get a different look and to look like this.
That is true. You got to focus on your image.
Yeah. Precisely.
So this is the first thing people see is your outward appearance. So you got to make that cool and based. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So this is a very much a traditional Orthodox thing that I'm doing here, and also a very much Christian thing. So I hope that explains everything.
Mm-hmm. Crystal clear.
About as crystal clear as crystal clear. The next Zakir Naik says, I am the real Mahdi. I challenge you to Mubahala. What do you think you are, man? What do you think you are, son?
Who do you think you're talking to? You're talking to the only two real contenders for the position of Mahdi right here on your screen.
That's true. That's very, very true. You see, proof 72 virgins, patriarch, apostate. Please, AP, we're worried about you. Don't be worried about me. This is part of becoming. This is part of orthodoxy. This is usual Orthodox tradition. When people join the Orthodox Church, they usually start putting on wigs and having different looks. This is like, you can ask anybody. This is basically what happens when you go into the Orthodox Church. So it's not just me. I know it in the West. It's not very usual to meet to have like interactions with Orthodox Christians, but those who do know Orthodox Christians can probably confirm that this is how Orthodox Christians are. They when they enter the church, they put on different wigs and stuff. So it's very much part of it. Yeah, totally. Trust me, bro. If I say it must be true. The next Zakir Naik said, yes, I hope you're feeling better, says Ruth. I am feeling slightly better. What happened is the other day, the day that we went live together, the last time that we went live, when we were talking about Lubna. That's the day that I started feeling a little bit sickly, and
you got worse and worse throughout the show.
Yeah. In fact, you said that, and I went back later and checked out the live stream, and I compared how I sound at the beginning of the live stream to how I sound at the end of the live stream. It's like,
yeah, because before the show, you're like, oh, I'm feeling a little sick and stuff, and then like by the end, you're like,
yeah. By the end, I was like, yeah. Thanks everybody. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a fantastic day.
It was the worst. It was the worst experience ever for anyone who's watching.
Man. Yeah. So yeah, that's the day that I got sick, and at the same time, my wife also was getting sick, and then we both got really
sick.
And
hey, wait a minute.
Got really sick. What?
I remember about 4 or 5 years ago, Ali Dawah prayed for us to get diseases, and here you are. You guys caught a cold. Coincidence?
Oh shoot, that's true. I guess Islam is true then, but whatever. Still, we have to look at the argument and see and see what the argument does. Maybe the argument at least can debunk it. So there you have it. Skyscraper Philosopher when will Matt Fradd upload his interview with you, AP? Been a while ago, and I'm hyped to see it. Were you too controversial and got canceled? LOL. Now that you say it, hold on.
Hey, that would be funny if he's like, hey, I recorded this video with AP, but if I post it, I'm going to get all the orthobros harassing me.
When did I actually go there? I really wonder now. When was that? When did I go to Matt Fradd? That was March 20th.
A couple months ago, right? Yeah.
March 20th. Well, he said it's normally supposed to be released within 2 months or something like that. So it seems it might be coming out any day now. I don't know. I could just text him and ask him, I guess. But it's supposed. The thing is, when we were done with the show, which was a very, very intense conversation, when we were done with it, I took a deep breath and I said to Matt, "I hope this wasn't too controversial." And he looked at me and he said, "It was very good. It was a little bit problematic, but it was very good." He said, of course, I can't do it with his Australian accent, which was atrocious. And I had to sit through that and talk to him, But he did say that it was pretty hardcore. We went into some things. Of course, I took the opportunity to immediately talk about child marriage. I said, if I am here, I have to talk about child marriage immediately. We can't just talk about different things. I have to address this. I have to talk about child marriage. So we did talk about.
There's this giant. It's like, what are you going to do? Sit there? There's this giant elephant behind you, and like just standing there, and you're not going to address it. Come on.
Yeah. So we talked about child marriage a little bit, mostly in a negative way. Just so everyone knows, mostly in a negative way, and he found it very cool. So yes, I did go on pints with Aquinas. Very, very nice guy. Matt is a very, very cool dude. So very nice guy.
If I were him, I would change my last name. His last name is Fradd, right there. When will Matt Fradd? It seems like too obvious to call him Matt Fraud. Whereas if you have a cool last name, like Idemir,
yeah,
what can you say about that?
Well, the thing is, you could always just you could always be Mike Winger. So I guess you're always lucky, whatever your name you have. So recent answers said Sheikh Thaman challenges David Wood to debate Islam dilemma. Who is Thaman?
It says Sheikh the Man.
Oh, Sheikh the Man. Okay.
I'm assuming this is a joke. Is there an actual Sheikh the Man?
Sheikh the Man.
Because if so, I accept.
Sheikh the Man, son. Sarah F. What's up, Sarah F? AP sent you private screaming goats pics on X. Okay, I will check.
I'm a little concerned about screaming goats pics.
Apostate of Allah, AP the humble hippie Mehdi. I come from Kingston town. I don't have an accent much. I also don't know how to do an accent, a Jamaican accent. It's Jamaica, man. But this is because it's been a long time, you know. Jack Ray, AP Kravitz, Go Get Away. I don't even know what that guy looked like, man. Lenny.
You don't know what Lenny Kravitz looked like?
I don't remember.
What do you mean? He's still around, dude.
I don't know, man. Okay, yeah, this guy. Okay. Well, doesn't look like me at all. I look better. Celeria Rosencross said, you know, I was mostly shopping for my family, but I did actually also get cat food, so you weren't entirely wrong in your quip last stream. What is this about cat food, man?
He left a comment and said he was going shopping, but then he put a little cat emoji.
I see.
Hey, someone in the last stream asked me where they could send their video confirming me as the Mahdi, and I said you could look up my email address on my YouTube channel, but I don't see anything in my email box. So if that someone is here and couldn't figure something out, let me know. Because we want that video. I need all the videos confirming me as the Mahdi, who bangs even more of his followers than Muhammad. Therefore, the true Mahdi. What?
You're actually doing that? That's cool.
Of course I'm doing it.
Oh, look at that. Now look at that.
And I will challenge him to Mubahala. Yeah,
look at that.
Look at that.
Now look at that. The guy is directly copying me. Like, how much more shameless can you possibly get?
Hey, that's funny because back in the day, whenever I would like a song, and I was a kind of a young-ish Christian and so on, I would over time reformulate all the words so that there were Christian lyrics of that song. But I don't remember the rest, but his song, I was born to praise the Lord. Yeah, that was the revised version. I was born to praise the Lord. It actually fit. That was his main song. Gosh, what were the rest of the lyrics, man? I don't know. Long time ago. AP for Eastern Orthodox Pope.
There's this other rapper who is actually a very good rapper, and whom I actually know. But as we are live right now,
you don't know any rappers.
The very funny thing is, I don't know if that happens to you as well. But when I'm on a live stream, even if it's like a random thing, I have a difficult time remembering some basic things. I don't know why.
But, I always have trouble remembering basic things, and it gets worse the older I get. I always used to remember almost everything, and I still remember all the stuff I remember from when I was young, but I can't remember new things at all unless I cover it over and over and over again like a beating drum for months and years. I will not remember it.
Yeah. Anyway, so thanks to everybody who's watching this live stream.
What's the NGO? Specifically, when the Quran.
Sorry. Thanks to everybody who's watching. This is, of course, a very important live stream, and the fact that you guys are watching this when you could be watching something else that is hosted by white people who are very much who very much have a privilege and all that, whereas we are here representing people of color and all that, which is, of course, marginalized. And so watching this live stream thereby on your behalf is a good contribution to diversity, equity, and
inclusion.
Inclusion, yes, not integrity. Inclusion. So diversity, inclusion, and equity. So it's good that everybody is coming here and doing their part and contributing to the show when you could be going and watching something hosted by people like the white guy next to me here. So today we want to talk about the Islamic dilemma. David, what do you know about the Islamic dilemma?
Pretty powerful argument, possibly the most powerful argument for anything having to do with Islam. Good stuff. Basically, Your average Muslim knows that the Quran affirms at least the inspiration, the original inspiration of the Jewish and Christian scriptures. But your average Muslim believes that the Quran also says that our scriptures have been corrupted because they've picked up over time that our scriptures do not line up with Islam. And so they've had to say that over the years. But the problem is the Quran doesn't simply affirm the initial inspiration, but later corruption of the Jewish and Christian scriptures. The Quran affirms the inspiration and the preservation and the authority, the continuing, ongoing authority, even over Muhammad and his revelations themselves, of the Jewish and Christian scriptures. So the Quran affirms our scriptures, but the Quran contradicts our scriptures, not merely on some ruling. If it were some dietary restriction and the Quran said something different, well, fine. You know, different groups in different times, they could have some different restrictions or something like that. That would be fine. That's not the issue. Basic fundamental doctrines about God and so on. The Quran contradicts what's in the previous scriptures, but it affirms them as the inspired, preserved, authoritative word of God. So anyway, at the end of the day, there are only two possibilities. Either we have the inspired, preserved, authoritative word of God, or we don't. We got something that's corrupt or something else. If we have the inspired, preserved, authoritative word of God, Islam is false because Islam contradicts what we have on basic doctrines. So that's one possibility. That's one horn of the dilemma. The other horn of the dilemma is we don't have the inspired, preserved, authoritative word of God. And if we don't have the inspired, preserved, authoritative word of God, Islam is false because Islam affirms the inspiration, the preservation, and the authority of our scriptures. So if we have the word of God, Islam is false. If we don't have the word of God, Islam is false. Either way, Islam is false. Islam just crumbles based on what it teaches.
Based. And as a result of that,
Christianity is based.
pretty good. Look at this clown. This is what I was talking about, what I was thinking about earlier, but he's also out there copying me directly. He's a rapper. He goes by the name of J. Cole, which is pretty rude. He's directly copying me.
I don't think that dude could rap a present, and I challenge him to a Mubala rap if he wants to.
See, he's a solid rapper, though. Probably the only good rapper.
Yeah, someone left a C off the front of that word when he does it. What?
Yeah. What's going on currently with Sajid Lipim? I see that you're going back and forth with Sajid Lipim, which is very, very interesting, considering that Sajid Lipim is one of the best, one of the greatest Muslim apologists and scholars ever, and it seems to me a little bit unwise on your behalf to have an exchange with him back and forth, considering that it is your stated mission to destroy Islam. And there you seem to have hit a huge wall because he also seems to be a great defender of Islam.
Yeah, we do feel like we are hitting a wall in the sense of it's like we're talking to a wall when we're responding to him. But yeah, so we launched a huge Islamic dilemma project this year where number of people, dozens of people are going through the Quran line by line, looking for everything the Quran says about the previous scriptures. So we're doing that. And the hope was that as we're producing content on this and as we're, because basically, if you go back, there were only a couple people on the planet who were using the Islamic dilemma. If you go back to very recent times, we want a bunch of people to be using the Islamic dilemma. So that's what we're working on, putting out content. And the hope was, I was hoping that like maybe 4, 5, 6 months from now, they'd be in panic mode and responding to it left and right. You want them responding because it shows people how bad their responses are. So I was hoping these guys would really start responding, but I was thinking like it's going to be a while. You normally have to force these guys, right? Because they'll just pretend that the argument isn't there. They'll do that for a long time until you force them, and it's really until you force their people to go to them and complain and say, what's going on? This argument is destroying us. That's when they eventually respond. As long as you're using an argument that isn't affecting their community, they don't care. Once their community is bothered by it and starts going to them, hey, we don't know how to answer this, that's when they'll start responding. And so I was hoping that, later this year, they'll eventually start really responding to it. But no, I was wrong. They are already in panic mode over it. So the Yaqeen Institute just posted a response. Sajid's been posting lots of responses. Dean Response has been posting responses. They're all already in panic mode over this, and they're all giving like the absolute dumbest responses they could possibly give. And they're showing people, guess what? There just is no good response. If there were a good response to the Islamic dilemma, they'd be using their good response to the Islamic dilemma. The fact that all of them combined are producing the most insanely idiotic content I've ever seen in my life trying to respond kind of shows there is no good response to the Islamic dilemma.
This is very, very funny. I see Sergeant Lipham's channel now, and I see that he has made at least like 7 videos about the related to the topic.
And only 2 of those he actually tries to cover anything we were using for the argument. So it's kind of funny.
That's very, very, very interesting. Now, I haven't seen any of the videos. There was a time that I was more interested in Sergeant Lipham, but meanwhile, I'm sorry to tell you this, Sergeant. I know that this will be very, very hard to hear for you. But I unsubscribed from your channel, Sergeant Lipham.
You brought that on yourself, Sergeant.
It's your fault.
Yeah, for producing really terrible, terrible responses. AP, yeah. This is something that's come up repeatedly as we're going through, because we've been going through all of his videos. Every time he posts a video, we say, hey, let's go live, and we go through it. But here's what's interesting. We all had the same reaction when we're going through those videos, that we were expecting better from Sajid. And you think, why? Why would you expect better from Sajid? And it's because if you go back 4 or 5 years, when Hijab is doing all his stupid antics and other people are, Sajid is the one calling these guys out for their lack of hikmah. And it's clear that he's in the right? Like they're doing stupid stuff that is massively damaging to the ummah in terms of long-term repercussions of their behavior. And so we're sitting there, oh, Sajid has basic common sense. Sajid is clearly more intelligent than these other guys. So we're thinking that when he's giving responses to the Islamic dilemma, he's going to give better responses. But it's the opposite. They're even dumber than you get from the other Dawa guys. They're really, 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 really bad responses. And so it's basically he has some level of common sense when it comes to, hey, you shouldn't be exposing the holes in the narrative and things like that. But when it comes to actually arguing from the Quran, he is embarrassingly terrible, bad, like as in really, really bad responses, really dumb. In fact, again, 7 videos that he posted in response to the Islamic dilemma, 2 tried to respond to something we say. Other than that, basically it's all smoke screens. It's him pretending for his fans that he's answering stuff, and he's not coming within a trillion miles of answering the argument. In fact, he's making it way worse.
Yeah, he's the thing is, he does appear reasonable, but he clearly has no idea how to argue things. He also has he's also interestingly ignorant, I noticed that when I was having a back and forth with him about the Jesus issue, like way back in the day, years ago, when he tried to argue that that Jesus was clearly a Muslim and so on, and I responded to him as an atheist and said that this is complete nonsense, and explained why and how the Gospels completely depict Jesus as Christians believe him to be, as divine, as the Son of God, and so on. And in his responses, like his primary response, for example, was that we Muslims do not believe. We Muslims believe that the Gospels as they exist today are completely and entirely preserved and accurate and all that. We simply think that Christians view them with a Christian lens, which is why they misunderstand it. And I'm there thinking, what are you talking about?
Wait, he was saying that where? Because that's the opposite of what he says now.
Yes, and I thought to myself, it would be amazing if Muslims actually did believe that, but no Muslim believes that.
That's what you would get from the Quran. That's exactly what you would get from the Quran. What you would get from the Quran is that the scriptures of the Jews and the Christians are as good as gold. They are authoritative. They were revealed by Allah, they're preserved by Allah, and they're authoritative. That's the impression you would get from the Quran. So why do Jews and Christians disagree with Muslims? Because they misinterpret and even sometimes deliberately distort what's in the scripture. So the scripture isn't the problem. It's people who are the problem. That's the impression you get from the Quran. But that is not what most Dawa guys say now. And it's definitely not what Sajid says now. So if you recall him where he said that sort of thing, would be interesting to share that with me, because I would like to, I could basically make Sajid debate himself.
Well, now that you say that. Now that you say that, I might as well quickly look at where he said that. So because I think it wouldn't be very hard to find, because
I think it'll be a nightmare to find.
All I would have to do is to quickly go and find where exactly I responded to him. And then once I find where I responded to him, I will find what video I was responding to. And once I found out what video I was responding to, I will have also found out where he said before that the Injil, the Gospels, as they is, are totally good to go.
Yeah, he's so embarrassingly terrible. He's arguing that the Quran is the only book of Allah that exists, and somehow he keeps saying, and if Jews and Christians were to follow their books, they would believe in Muhammad. Like, what books? You're saying we don't even have the word of Allah anymore. It's beyond terrible.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's funny because we've only been going through his videos in live streams. And, we'll spend hours just because, every sentence he's basically saying something stupid. And so it takes a while to respond to. But I'm also going to make short videos responding to any actual points that are relevant. And it's just going to get worse and worse for him.
Interesting.
It's really, really bad.
Interesting. Anyway, yeah, it would still take a few minutes to find it. So I'm just gonna
a few million years, because you probably don't even remember accurately what happened.
Actually, I found all of the videos that deal with the topic.
He didn't take them down?
No, the joke's on you. I found all the videos that deal with the topic.
Inshallah.
In fact, let's see. Judge by response to, look here. Looky. Response to apostate prophet, ex-Muslim atheist. This was one video where he was responding to me why some people choose evil, human desire, atheist, conclusion. Then came the next video. After I respond to him, he responds again.
But people believe in very weird things.
Alone, just like all of the prophets. Not strange reason. Well.
And then he was responding to me here.
Is that a Zabiba, or is that just the way his head's wrinkling? What is that?
Probably Zabiba.
Bismillah.
Zabiba, I got a big Zabiba. Could Jesus be a Muslim in the gospel? Then here is another part.
The ignorant liar. Now, I guess to be fair,
is he talking about you?
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome all viewers.
Does that help? Does that magic help?
Oh,
yeah.
The atheist turned Christian apologist, apparently, known as the Apostate prophet.
Hey, it's funny. Was that a prophecy? How long ago was this?
Isn't it funny how things changed? 2021.
2021. See? Sajid, you're more of a prophet than Muhammad ever was.
Man.
Recently made a video about me calling me.
Dude, you don't realize how hilarious that is, because everything, we just did a live stream earlier, and everything he was saying, he's basically arguing that the Torah and the Injil, which we no longer have, tell us that Muhammad is a true prophet and we should follow these books that we don't have. That's actually what his position is. We do not have these books, but if we did, we would know that they point to Muhammad, and therefore we should be following Muhammad. And we're just like, what is this? Trust me, bro. If you're going to say there's books that you don't have, you could say they say whatever you want. So I could say they agree with me on everything, and every last one of them says that Muhammad's a false prophet, if they're imaginary books that we just say anything we want about. But he's actually saying we're not following the books that we don't have anymore. And if we did follow the books that we don't have anymore, we would go to Muhammad. And so he's saying there's all this evidence in there, but we don't actually have it because we don't have the books with all the evidence in them. It's insane, but it's massive. It's a massive case of trust me, bro. And so it's funny that he hasn't changed from that.
The Mahmoud. You would have to go to Mahmoud. Mahmoud. Let's see.
Me a liar. Rayvon, how could you?
Hey, he's back to whispering. People,
Why did he call me a liar? Well, let's just get right into it, shall we?
because you're a liar.
Number one, I made the claim that the Gospels are actually very much in line with the idea that Jesus was a Muslim. So let's see if there's any substance to that statement, or am I really this filthy, ignorant liar?
You're a
Now,
filthy,
I
ignorant
guess, to
liar.
be
Definitely.
fair, it's not that surprising that he would think this about me because he
I have to say, I later on actually apologized for saying that, because at that point I didn't really
I'll say
know that much about him. But so in that video, I did indeed, which he was responding to, I said that he's a filthy, ignorant liar. I later took it back and said I wouldn't call him a filthy, ignorant liar. I would just call him completely ignorant. So anti-logical. Yeah.
He's a filthy, ignorant liar.
said,
What? Why would you say that?
Because I've actually watched some of his recent videos. And it's basically there's some stuff where he could actually, if you wanted to defend him, you could actually say he's just completely ignorant. However, we know he's watching our stuff, and we've so thoroughly demolished his points that when he keeps bringing up the exact same points that we've thoroughly demolished, it just has to be deception at this point.
I actually want to go. Wait, this is from June 28th. Here is my video, which is from June 27th, which he's responding to. What did I say here? Which is a response? Let's see.
God, or which say that a voice from heaven said, "This is my beloved Son," about Jesus. Or the Gospels that say that people worshipped Jesus, about the enemies of Islam and the dishonest, ignorant people like myself.
we can also, see through some of these manipulative tactics that enemies of Islam try to dishonestly utilize.
I published a video named "Was Jesus a Muslim?" in which I exposed the ridiculousness of this Muslim idea that Jesus was a Muslim. Sajid Lipim here desperately tried to defend Islam.
How
in a
long ago was
very
this?
angry way and blamed
This was 4 years ago.
How does your room change so many times over the years?
I don't know.
Like think about this. You go to my normal videos, I have the exact same background since like 2009 or something.
Well, in this video, I actually this was when I rented a little place, like a little.
Oh, I remember that. You saying you rented a little place, a little
a
office.
little tiny office that I was sitting in, that I was using for stuff.
And then I was impressed by your decoration. You have like one little printout from Kinko's on the wall.
And then I got rid of that place and just created my own place. And yeah, now I have bookshelf behind me because I wanted to be just like Mike Winger.
blatantly lied to his
Get a
own
guitar and put it in the
audience
background.
by saying that the Gospels, the earliest accounts of Jesus, are in line with the Muslim claim that Jesus was merely a Muslim. This is the first time that I hear a Muslim say that the Gospels are in line with the idea that Jesus was a Muslim.
Okay, and I think.
Hey, I have to point out, and we'd have to actually have the confirmation of what exactly he's saying. But if at this point he was still claiming that the Gospels point to Islam and so on, and that Jesus is a Muslim in the Gospels, if he was claiming something in that ballpark, I would say you won the debate so decisively that he changed his position, because now he has nothing but insults and contempt for the Bible.
It's because here in this video, he actually let's continue with this. Let's see.
This is the first time that I hear a Muslim say that the Gospels are in line with the idea that Jesus.
Hey, did he just smile? I haven't seen him smile in a while. He seems
Yeah.
like
Here's what
really
some of his followers
he
might
seems really miserable and depressed now.
Look what he says now. Look, I think I remember
with
this.
the idea that Jesus was a Muslim.
Now, contrary to what some of his followers might think, this is actually not something to brag about, because over the past century, many of the most famous and effective Muslim apologists have given da'wah to Christians by using this very claim. There have been huge debates, there have been many books authored where Muslims will use the Gospels to show Christians that in their own scriptures there is evidence that Jesus.
That's not the same thing, Sajid.
Yeah, think about it. He's saying,
There is evidence. It's not the same thing.
oh, and him saying, oh, and Dawa guys use this. Yeah, Dawa guys use some of the dumbest arguments we've ever seen. Bottom line is, Sajid, pick Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, whatever you want. You get Jesus is the divine Son of God who died on the cross for sins and rose from the dead. You get that everywhere you look, and it contradicts Islam. So,
Yes.
got a
Jesus
problem,
was
buddy.
actually a Muslim. Meaning what? Meaning that he prayed 5 times a day and made Hajj and followed the Quran and Sunnah, as
No.
some people
was gonna say no.
unfortunately are confused in thinking. No, in that he was a prophet that worshipped and submitted to God alone. So it's very hard to believe that Ridvan could be
Hang
at
on.
all educated about this topic, about
Look
the
how
perspective
dumb that
of-
was. What did he just say? He does what they all do. Oh, Muslim just means one who submits to God alone.
This
And therefore
means-
you're Muslim. That's called a monotheist, Sajid. It's called a monotheist. Islam is a package deal, meaning it isn't just theism submitting to God. If you said, hey, Islam is just theism and it's submitting to God, Jews and Christians would say, amen, we agree with that. It's not. It's a big package deal. Here are all these additional things that you have to believe, and things that happen to be complete, insane, idiotic nonsense. And not only that, if you believe that the Quran is an accurate reflection of what Islam teaches, it teaches things that completely, utterly, totally contradict what we read about Jesus in the Gospels. And so you'd have to say, let me put it this way: if the Jesus we read about in the Gospels is a Muslim, he's so radically different from what a Muslim is according to the Quran that we'd have to say the Quran is a corruption and a book of the devil, because it contradicts what Jesus taught.
Let's see.
Why in the world would we believe in the Muslim narrative, which came 600 years later? If you
point.
are between trusting the Christian narrative and the Islamic narrative, it should be uncontroversial to say that the Christian narrative is by far the more reliable one.
Okay, so if we look at the description of his video, it says, this video does not need big sources. All it needs is a tiny little bit of logic and reason.
That's your description.
If you actually
Yes.
do
And he
refer to
quotes it.
sources, then you'll realize not only does this video lack big sources, but it also lacks even a tiny little bit of logic and reason. If he wants to argue that the earliest accounts of Jesus are the most reliable, then this actually destroys his argument, because the
Nope.
Gospels are actually very much in line with the
Oh,
idea that
yeah.
Jesus was a Muslim, that he was a prophet, that he worshiped God alone. It's not until later that Christian writings started
this is it.
introducing the idea that, maybe he is this divine figure. Maybe he should be worshipped. Maybe
Bull.
he was part of a trinity. You don't find these things in the Gospels. You
Yeah,
find these
you
things
most
in
certainly do,
church
Sajid.
writings. This is stuff that Christians wrote later. So if he was going to be consistent with his art,
Does he
Sajid,
contradict us now?
Sajid, pick a thing that you just brought up, and I'll show you that from any gospel you want.
Does he contradict this position nowadays?
Yeah, I mean, I see. Based on what he just said, he's saying that the Bible, that the Gospels are consistent with this and consistent with this position and so on. He might still believe that the Gospels are just garbage, but right now matter of fact, this is one of the points I brought up. It's like, you read the Quran from beginning to end and say, what's the impression you get about what the Quran thinks about the previous scripture? It's nothing but respect, nothing but good thoughts in the Quran about the previous scriptures. Him now, he has nothing but complete contempt. Everything he says about the previous scriptures is an insult. And it's like the exact opposite of what we find in the Quran. By the way, AP, I only have a small screen, but I need to screenshot that because that is perfect for a screenshot.
Wait, I'll take a screenshot of that for you.
That is perfect for a thumbnail.
All right, wonderfully done. Okay, but actually, let me just again here. Okay, got it. Fantastic.
Argument, he would have to support the Islamic perspective.
Dude, I'm not even joking. He doesn't even crack a grin now. He doesn't even crack a grin now, but he keeps smiling in these earlier videos. It's like,
he
dude,
changed. He changed, man.
Sajid, you need to get it. Dawa's like destroying you, bro.
He changed. Big
Notice
All
me
of
and
the
AP.
previous
We're getting
prophets.
happier and happier as time goes on.
But it only makes sense. It is only plausible that if you want to trust in further accounts of Jesus and the things that he did, then the next most reliable thing would be the Christian accounts, the early writings about Jesus, the early Gospels.
Now, here's why this is so absurd what he's saying. I mean, he doesn't have to believe in Christianity. He doesn't have to believe in Islam. But either he is incredibly ignorant, which I'm sure he
He
is.
put his pinky.
But how much of this is ignorance versus dishonest manipulation? The reason why Muslims believe what we believe about Jesus is because we believe that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam received divine revelation.
Pause it.
And we have preserved chain.
Okay, Sajid, you're saying the reason you believe these things about Jesus is because you believe Muhammad received revelations. Those revelations that you receive say that we have the inspired, preserved, authoritative word of God, and that's what we're supposed to judge by. And the scriptures that your God and your prophet affirm and say that we have, they say the opposite of what the Quran says. Are you not getting this? You're saying, we believe this about Jesus. We believe this about Jesus because this is what the Quran says. The Quran says that the gospel that is in the possession of the Christians is as good as gold that comes from Allah. And it contradicts everything you're saying about Jesus. How are you not getting this point? What does that mean? It means you cannot trust the revelation that tells you about Jesus. You can't trust it because it's affirming scriptures that contradict itself. How are you not getting this? A 4-year-old could get this.
Powerful.
Of narration regarding what he came with. Now, if somebody does not believe that, then you don't have to believe that. But there are reasons that make perfect sense, that are completely rational and logical to believe that, number one, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was a messenger of Allah. He was a prophet of God. And then number two, we scientifically know.
He keeps saying it. He keeps saying it, but there are all these good reasons. Show us one, Sajid. Show us one good reason. Sajid, make a video about that. I'm not even joking, Sajid. I have no clue what your arguments are now. I don't mean you in specific. I mean Dawa in general. I have no clue what your guys' arguments are, because the main arguments you used for years, perfect preservation, scientific miracles, they've been debunked so thoroughly that all the Dawa guys, except maybe you, have abandoned them. Like you guys, so I don't even know what you argue. And when I see you guys make an argument now, you circle back to some argument that got so absolutely destroyed 20 years ago that you abandoned it back then, and now you're bringing it back because people aren't paying attention to it anymore. So I seriously want to know what is your argument? Please give it to us. Give us your best one, or your best two, or your best three. Give us make a video giving us your best 1 or 2 or 3 arguments, because I'm not joking here. I'm being completely serious. I have zero clue what your arguments are now, because everything you've said has been destroyed.
The thing is, as David just pointed out and also explained, what Sajid Lippin basically believes here, which is why it's impossible to explain to him that he's wrong about the Bible or that he's wrong about the Gospels. He says that we take whatever Muhammad said about Jesus and about the Gospels as fact. We don't have to rely even on people who were directly there and witnessed it, because we trust only Muhammad and his word. If it does not make sense to you, and if it doesn't comply with your historical understanding, with your methods of authenticating and verifying scripture, we don't care. We simply trust whatever the Islamic narrative is, because Muhammad said it, and we know that Muhammad is a true prophet. However, the question here is, how far do you go with this method? How far back do you go with this method in saying, well, Muhammad said it, and we believe Muhammad, therefore it is true? Okay, so Muhammad said something about the Gospels, but it's completely contrary to any ounce of truth that we have. but you simply go with what Muhammad said because you believe that Muhammad is telling the truth. Okay. Let's come to science, right? Let's come to the sun and the moon. It seemingly contradicts everything that we see and everything that we can observe, everything that we can track and confirm. But you once again ignore this and trust what Muhammad says because you believe that Muhammad is a truthful prophet. Okay, how far do you go with this? And what exactly established Muhammad as the reliable standard by which you by which you approve or disapprove of certain things? You have simply become cultists, followers of a delusional, ignorant idiot from the 7th century, Arabia, who makes claims and you believe anything he says, even if it is in complete contradiction with your own eyes, even if it is in complete contradiction with everything that you know and everything that you see and everything that humankind sees. You trust him fully because you have become a cult for this idiot of the 7th century. This is basically what Sajid Lubim is telling us here.
And it's to the point where all he does now is attack Allah's speech and change the obvious meaning of what Allah is saying in the Quran. All why? Because it doesn't line up with reality at all. And so that's why I said, Sajid, if you have a reason, because keep in mind there could be some reason that I'm not aware of to believe in Islam. I'm reading the Quran. All I see are problem. Even when you're like, oh, but the Bible, okay, your book affirms it. So that would be an additional problem for you. Why should we take this serious? There could be something in theory that outweighs all of my objections and all the problems I see. And it's just, aha, this makes it indisputable that this guy's a prophet. There could be something like that. I just have no clue what it is. You keep saying it. You keep saying we have all this evidence. But all this evidence shows us everything that you believe as evidence has been destroyed, has been debunked. You just don't admit it. So I'm wondering, so please give us a good laugh. Say, oh, it's because of the scientific miracle. Please tell us. I want to hear this. It's because of the miraculous, perfect preservation. Please tell us what your reason is.
Please tell us. Please.
Oh, the chains of narrators. We know that what he said and what he brought has been preserved. So regardless if he came after Jesus,
Hang on, pause.
that doesn't make a difference. Just like Jesus came after Moses.
Because it has been preserved.
It's been preserved. What are you talking about? It's been preserved when Muhammad died and then sheep started eating verses of the Quran and we lost basically 2/3 of Surah 33 because Aisha's sheep ate the only copy? Or is it all the passages that came up missing because the only people who had them memorized died in battle, which forced Abu Bakr to actually make the Quran a physical book because they didn't want to do that? And of course, he's an innovator. Or was it later when people were writing their own copies of the Quran and they came up with so many differences that Uthman had to order everyone to hand over their copies so he could burn them all? And then Abdullah ibn Masud, remember him, Sajid? He's the one your prophet said, if you want to learn the Quran from anyone, learn it from him. And Ibn Masud, what did he say about the Quran put out by Uthman? What did he say? He said, avoid copying the book of this man, Zayd ibn Thabit, who produced that Quran. He said, hide your own Qurans. Don't give them over to these guys to burn. He had nothing but he did not trust the new Quran, the one that you would appeal to. And we don't even have that because we got all these different versions because copyists couldn't even get that right. And now you have all these different kirat. They use different Qurans in different parts of the world. This is what you mean by a perfectly preserved book, because it seems to have all the characteristics of a book that hasn't been perfectly preserved, Sajid. If you take any book that's copied by hand and you say, what are all the things that happen to a book that's copied by hand? All the different mistakes that someone can make. What are they? And you made a list out of all the different things that could happen. They all happen in the history of the Quran. So if you wanted to, Sajid, if you wanted to argue that there's a miracle, here's what you would argue. You would say, here's the miracle. The Quran has all the features, all the characteristics of a book that hasn't been perfectly preserved. And yet it has been. That's the miracle. Argue that and see how dumb you sound. Hey, that's another good perfect.
Too late.
Moses came after Abraham, just like Abraham came after
Dude, I need this video. Everything here is perfect for
what he believes in.
Screenshot.
You need to was Jesus a Muslim? Apostate Prophet reaction video. Got to look at that.
believe in anything other than hating Islam, apparently. But it makes perfect sense. Let's at least be honest about what Muslims believe. However, when it comes to the Christian perspective, when it comes to the Christian sources of Scripture, there is no preserved chain of narration. We don't know who wrote these books.
We actually do, Sajid. We actually very, very well do. And this is a part that I never understood, or that I didn't understand, that didn't make much sense to me, like years ago, or maybe 2 years ago, maybe up until a year ago. It didn't really make sense to me. The authorship and how the knowledge of the events of the life of Jesus and all that were transmitted to us. It is actually very, very simple. And I sometimes think to myself these days, especially with the studies that I'm kind of undergoing, that I often have this thought, wow, I just learned something, and I wish that that somebody had put it out there in a very easily accessible, observable, and short way. Maybe somebody should do that. For example, how do we know that the things that the New Testament alleges actually happened as they're described? And historically, it is very, very well established that the gospel narrative is pretty much reliable and pretty much, is truthful to what actually happened for most of it. And even Bart Ehrman says this. When Bart Ehrman said it in the past, I didn't really understand, because Bart Ehrman himself is an atheist or an agnostic now, and I didn't know what exactly he bases his claim on, that the gospel narrative is mostly accurate, because I thought this mostly comes down to just believing in it, or just trusting certain religious figures who are authoring things in there at that time. However, one very, very simple thing to point out, for example, is that Saint Paul, the apostle, was a contemporary of the people, of the disciples, the apostles of Jesus, who directly, with the immediate people around Jesus, communicated, and together with them then went out spreading and explaining Christianity to people. His writings are the very early writings of the New Testament, of the Christian Bible. He very, very much confirms, and those around him, Peter together with him, John, and so on, very much confirm the accounts that we find in the gospel. So I feel like just this aspect here, I wish somebody like David Wood, for example, instead of wasting his time on random things, had made it very, very accessible for the average person to understand this kind of stuff. David, why did you never do this?
Because I don't care. People can do their own stupid research. not here to hold everyone's hand.
You see. All right.
The authors are anonymous. They were written in languages that Isa, alayhi salam, that Jesus did not himself speak.
Pause it. What level of stupid? Sajid, one, why would you think Jesus couldn't speak Greek? That Alexander the Great had spread it all over the place. They are occupied by the Romans. And if they're giving you orders, you better understand how to follow those orders. Why would you think that Jesus didn't know Greek? Why? What? Give us some possible evidence. That's one issue. Two, Sajid, and I don't know how much more simple we can make this. I'm gonna break this down for you, Sajid. Ready?
Sajid, you done it, Sajid. You made a big mistake right here.
The word that the Quran uses for the book that somehow fell on Jesus. The word.
The bird is the word.
Is Injil.
Injil.
That is an Arabic transliteration, meaning it's a word that's taken from a different language and put into given Arabic letters, right? The word Injil is an Arabic transliteration of the Greek word euangelion. So, why, in the name of common sense, is the book that fell on Jesus a book with a Greek title. It has a Greek name, Sajid. Why? If Jesus didn't even speak it, did he not understand the book? Did he receive the book? A book falls on him. Boom. Oh, a book fell on me. I don't know what it says because it's in Greek. Is that what you're saying, Sajid? I'm serious. Please explain this to us. You guys keep it's in Greek. The New Testament's in Greek. They wouldn't have used, Jesus wouldn't have brought a book in Greek. The Gospels are in Greek. It makes no sense. Okay, the Quran says it's in Greek. The Quran, your book. Yet another way you completely contradict your God and your prophet, and you don't get it, and you just keep tossing out the same attacks, which work with your followers because they're not thinking about this either. They're even dumber than you are. But those of us who are actually familiar with the issue, you're sitting, these dumb Christians, they think that's a book. Jesus didn't even speak Greek. Why is his book in Greek then? Tell us, please, I'm begging you, please explain it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't there strong evidence that not only some of the New Testament authors and figures, but also Jesus himself directly quoted the Septuagint?
Yeah. Septuagint, very, 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 very popular and very
Greek.
influential, even over the New Testament. Greek is back then is like English now. How shocked are you when you go to, let's say, Israel and you find someone who speaks English? How shocking is it? Not at all. But imagine, I mean, it was even more extreme with Alexander the Great, right? I mean, they're deliberately trying to impose Greek culture over everywhere that Alexander the Great conquered and so on. And so just, Sajid, where would you get that idea? So two things. By the way, there's a third point. There's a third point here. So you've got one, why would you think Jesus didn't speak Greek when that was the language, that was the common language of the time and it spread all over the place? So one, why would you think Jesus didn't speak Greek? Two, why does the Quran give a Greek title to the book that fell on Jesus, right? Why? But three, Sajid, another point. If it's a problem that Jesus is speaking Greek in the New Testament, did Jesus speak Arabic like he does in the Quran?
OMG.
Did Jesus speak Arabic, Sajid? What's more likely, Sajid, that Jesus spoke Greek, which Alexander the Great he conquered Israel and took over Israel and spread Greek, and then later they're under the control of the Romans, who had also adopted the same language? What's more likely, that Jesus spoke Greek or that Jesus spoke Arabic like he does in the Quran? Tell me the answer with a straight face. And if you say, of course he didn't speak Arabic, but the Quran can give you the words of Jesus, then why are you complaining about translations? Why would you say it's a problem that even if Jesus didn't speak Greek, and let's say he didn't speak Greek or Arabic, why is it okay for him to speak Arabic in the Quran, but not okay for him to speak Greek in the Gospels? Why? There is nothing you can give that comes within a trillion miles of being a coherent answer, and you just don't care. You just don't care. What is this? What does Dawah do to your brain? That literally everything you say is either factually incorrect or complete incoherent nonsense, or it contradicts everything that's in your own book, and you just don't care. What does Dawah do to your brain that makes you like this?
Exactly.
You've got AP wearing a disguise. He's ashamed to even be discussing this stuff. It's so embarrassing.
I'm disgusted. I am sick. I'm sick of this, man. I'm sick.
Sajid, I'll say Sajid is like frustratingly stupid.
Yeah. Progressive Overlord says, shout out to Lul Karnain. Very, very true. It's also a shame that David Wood keeps calling him Alexander the Great instead of referring to him by his wonderful Islamic name, Dhul Karnain. Shout out to Dhul Karnain for spreading Greek everywhere. It was very normal in the time of Jesus, according to the Gospels and according to every other person as well, for Jewish people in the region to speak Greek, for especially educated Jewish people, for religious Jewish people there to speak Greek. The only reason that the reason that a Septuagint came into existence is that the Jews saw it necessary to translate their scripture into Greek so that it would be accessible among all the Greek-speaking Jewish people.
Because you had tons of Jews who no longer spoke Hebrew or Aramaic, and
Yes.
they did speak Greek because
Yes.
that's how common the language was. And they said, yeah, know what? We need this in Greek.
Yes, and we even have other figures throughout the New Testament, including, for example, Nicodemus, who is who is a well-respected rabbi, who is part of the Sanhedrin, who has a lot to who has a lot of authority there, who directly has a Greek name, which doesn't seem to come from any Hebrew origin. For example, it's directly a Greek name, probably a Greek name that he that was given to him or that he adopted as a public name, as it was common back then, where they have their Hebrew names, but then also have a Greek name that they go by to identify themselves with, and so on. So there's plenty of evidence that Greek was a very common language among the people there, among teachers there, and it wouldn't be shocking at all for Jesus to speak Greek or to use Greek. But again, David just explained how this whole objection here by Sajid is just absolutely ridiculous.
So how is that a more trustworthy source, especially when
How is it a more trustworthy source? Well, let me tell you this, Sajid Lipham. Jesus lives, right? He lives and he dies. He's crucified. Then he comes back. And then he goes. Shortly after, a historically affirmed figure named Paul appears and directly makes contact with many people who directly witnessed and were in the presence of Jesus. Those people together start teaching to others and also writing down exactly what happened in the life of Jesus, after the life of Jesus, and so on. So what we have is that contemporaries of Jesus and people immediately coming after Jesus write things about him, and we can take it right here and open it and read exactly what those people wrote. I open this up. In fact, here, I have it right here. The New Testament as it was written in Greek and in English right here. I open it up and I find here exactly what those very people wrote down. You want to disregard this and want me to instead go and trust what some imbecile said 600 years later in the Arabian desert, completely disconnected from all those people. Isn't it very obvious how ridiculously stupid this is?
Yeah, it's common for Muslims to think that these Christian beliefs arose later. They don't realize we can trace them back to the very earliest church. So talk about Jesus' death and resurrection. There's a creed in 1 Corinthians 15. Scholars date it to within 2 years of the time of Jesus. And it talks about Jesus' death, his resurrection, and his appearances to a bunch of people. So death and resurrection, you got that within 2 years, Sajid. But also, interestingly, belief in the deity of Christ. Sajid, no fan. Sajid is no fan of the Apostle Paul. Guess what? The Apostle Paul was a persecutor of the church. He's a persecutor. Why did he persecute the church? We know. We have it. It's in there. He tells us why he was persecuting the church. He was persecuting the church because they were calling on the name of Jesus the way they are supposed to, as Jews, call on the name of Yahweh. So they're calling on the name of, you're supposed to call on the name of Yahweh. That's how prayer is described in the Old Testament. The followers of Jesus start calling on the name of Jesus as they call on the name of Yahweh. That's why Paul declares war on the early Christian church. Why is this relevant? Paul becomes a Christian. Paul converts to Christianity about 2 years after Jesus' death and resurrection, which means this is not something that came about later. Paul is persecuting the church within the first 2 years because he converts after 2 years. So when is Paul persecuting the church? Within the first 2 years of Christianity, within the first 2 years. Why is he persecuting the church? They're calling on Jesus the way they're supposed to call on the name of Yahweh. So belief in the deity of Christ, where is it? It's within the first 2 years. That's why Paul is persecuting the church. What's that mean? It It means this is not something that came about 10 years later, 20 years later, 50 years later. It was right there at the earliest church. So where did Christians within the first 2 years of Jesus' death, where did they get the idea that he's Lord in the sense that they're praying to him and worshiping him and so on? The idea that he died on the cross for sins and the idea that he rose from the dead seems like if you're going to convince a bunch of first century Jews of those kinds of things, something big would need to happen. So Sajid, what's the big thing that happened that gave them all this idea? Nothing in Islam allows you to explain this. Nothing would even explain why they wanted Jesus crucified. According to Islam, Jesus is going around. He's AP. You've studied Jewish belief and so on.
Yeah.
The Islamic view is that Jesus is going around in first century Israel saying, hey, everyone, believe in God. Let's just believe in one God. Whatever happens, let's make sure we believe in one God. No polytheism for us, just belief in one God. How many Jews is that going to upset?
0.
0. And yet, even according to the Quran itself, Surah 4, verse 157, they're so enraged at him that this guy has to die. Really? For telling people to believe in God? That's what sets off first century Jews according to Islam. That's what I mean. It's like, it's insane, man. It's insane. See, here, and by the way, here's how the justification will work in the mind of Muhammad. Right? Well, wait a minute. I'm obviously a prophet, and they're going against me for no reason. Durr. So it must have been the same with Jesus, and they're just mad because he's a true prophet. Okay, it makes 0 sense. They went after you, Muhammad, because you're an obvious false prophet. You're coming to them going, tell me where I am in your book. I want to know where I am according to your book. I know I'm in your book because I'm in your book. That's why. And they're like, are you serious, dude? Yeah, it says it describes my mole in your book. Dude, there's nothing about an Arabian prophet with some giant mole in our book. Yes, there is. It's in there. No, it's not. You liar. Oh, I'll kill you all. That's what happened. And so in Muhammad's mind, someone who's obviously a true prophet can come along and the Jews will just reject him. So he thinks that's what happened to Jesus. Sorry, it doesn't line up with any of our records of Jesus. You can look and see what was upsetting people about Jesus. And it wasn't that he was telling everyone, hey, believe in God, believe in God, believe in God. It wasn't what upset people.
Now, I went to Romans 9 through 11 very, very much recently, especially because I was preparing for a debate with Andrew Wilson. So I brought this up as a very, very important part in my debate with Andrew Wilson. But it's also burned into my mind because I went through this so often. But this is actually the first instance in the book of in Romans where you see something spelled out very clearly, which should be in complete disagreement with what Sajid Lupim here is saying. And Romans is affirmed to be in terms of authorship, in terms of the time, and so on. So the very same people who gave us the Gospels, who gave us the Gospel narrative, were around when Romans was written down. The very same people were there, and the very same people gave us the book that contains the Gospels and contains the other New Testament books. Here is what Paul says in Romans 9. Focus just on 9 verse 5. He describes the Jewish people, and he then says about the Jewish people, of whom are the fathers, and from whom, according to the flesh, Christ came, who is over all the eternally blessed God. Amen. That's directly what Paul says here. So Paul makes it very, 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 very explicit. There is no question here at all. He directly comes and says that Christ is over all the eternally blessed God. Amen, he says.
And this is a guy who's originally saying people have to be exterminated for calling Jesus God. And so the same reasoning would apply. You have to explain, Sajid, one, what convinced Jesus' original followers that he died on the cross for sins and that he rose from the dead and that he's Lord. Seems like it would have to be something big, because you can see from the reactions of some other people, people had a kind of a big problem with Jesus claiming to be Lord and Son of God and so on. And so they'd flip out over that stuff. So what is your explanation for what made his followers convinced of this? But then two, you have to explain the Apostle Paul, who starts off, yeah, these people have to die for saying this stuff about Jesus. And then a couple years later, oh yeah, I'm willing to die to acknowledge that that this is what Jesus taught. What convinced all these people, friends and foes? What convinced all these people that Jesus was making these claims? Please tell us, because Islam, Jesus came along and told everyone to believe in God, and then everyone wanted to kill him.
I was like, no, we
And
don't
then his
want to
followers,
believe in God.
for
How
some
dare
reason,
you."
start worshiping him. One of life's great mysteries. It makes no sense. Just like everything else in your religion, it makes zero sense. It doesn't fit reality.
Yeah, you have it right here in Galatians, also very early attested. For you have heard of my former conduct in Judaism, where which Paul says, how I persecuted the church of God beyond measure and tried to destroy it, and I advanced in Judaism beyond many of my contemporaries in my own nation, being more exceedingly zealous for the traditions of my fathers. So this is him directly saying that he became very zealous for his faith and wanted to persecute the Christians, and he then ends up believing in Christianity and defending it, and believes that that Jesus is God. So these are the very people who brought us the New Testament, who brought us the Gospels, who brought us the New Testament texts. But Sajid Lipham now, in this clip here, claims that the Gospels themselves are no problem, but only later texts or later interpretations by Christians are the issue, because they depict a false, a misunderstanding of Jesus as the Son of God. That doesn't make any sense.
No.
The very same people who brought us the gospel also brought us the idea that he's the Son of God and that he is God. So that is completely out the window. That goes into a bin. If he now wants to come and argue that that the Islamic dilemma is a non-valid argument, here he falls apart entirely again, just because, not only, but especially because of the things that we just talked about, because the New Testament, the Gospels, are very, very clear, and they are very clearly not in alignment with Islamic beliefs, Sajid Lipham.
Yeah, and even going back to the point you were making in your video, I mean, just think about this. Like, what's more likely? That everyone in the first century got this wrong and some illiterate caravan robber came along 6 centuries later and somehow got it right? And that we should believe him, even when he contradicts everyone from the first century? Sajid's response seems to be, no, if you look, it lines up with Islam. No, it doesn't. Pick a source. Sajid, pick a source. I'll let you pick. I'm not even saying, the Bible or something like that. You pick a first century source about Jesus that lines up with Islam. I would love to see it. There is none. You never get away from a Jesus who is claiming to be the divine Son of God who died on the cross for sins and rose from the dead. Pick a source. I'll show you those things from that. And none of them agree with Islam. So what's more likely, Sajid? Everyone in the first century gets Jesus completely wrong, or Muhammad got Jesus completely wrong?
You see? Why are the Orthodox so mean to AP? I'm not sure what you're talking about, man.
Because they're jealous. Because he's been a Christian for like 5 seconds and he's already like massively more famous than they are.
Hey, you know what's funny?
Well,
so yesterday, I think it was yesterday, but
yesterday.
I'm sitting down with my wife, and we're talking, and I had this idea of writing down names, which I guess it's a practice that I've heard many others do, writing down names of people that I should pray for, to keep in my mind. And then I'm writing down names, and I'm asking her, who else should I put on here? And so we're talking about people, and I think, I don't know, all those people all the people that I love and that I remember, probably also people that kind of, annoyed me and wronged me and all that. And then I'm beginning very, very softly with like Jay Dyer, the Orthobros.
And I'm going to, let me check my list. And I'm going to pray for Jay Dyer.
And then my wife says, maybe I should also pray for the Muslims. I'm like, yeah, okay, sure, Muslims. But then it gets more specific. Then, like, which Muslims? Well, those that we have had bad interactions with, and that I had bad interactions with. And I think, like, Muhammad Hijab. Yeah, okay. And Ali Dawa, okay. And even Daniel Hikikichu. And then I'm beginning to realize how difficult this whole thing actually is, of praying for your enemies. And I don't know. It became a very, very difficult matter. But I think I guess there is something nice about it. There's something good about it. Because prior to this, there was just spite you
Yeah.
know?
It was just, oh, flying spaghetti monster, destroy them.
But there's something really good about this other attitude. So it is pretty powerful. Pretty powerful. But then I thought, I don't know if it's, maybe I could just say Mojab instead of Mohammed Hijab, but then I thought, no, maybe I should just say Mohammed Hijab. Robo Ronin AP looks like albino killmonger. Powerful.
That's
Knows too much. Momo and Zoot writing upon one another. That's what they do. Flip 34. AP be looking like Kravitz, super duper based. Again, full warning. Please grab your Excedrin Tylenol now because this will hurt. Yes, exactly. Knows too much. Muhammad had the sexual strength of 30 man. A Zoot man. Just don't ask how they gave it to him. It's getting out of hand. MT AP WTH. How many trips to Party City? Many, man. I've been partying like this all day, every day.
Lots of party cities have been going out of business, so you got to get all your stuff now.
Yeah. I'm getting all my costumes, as many as I need to go to as many events as possible. I'm getting paid for this, man. People hire me for birthday parties and all that, so I have to go get new costumes. This is what I do nowadays. Momo rode Dehya and Zut in his night journeys. It gets worse if he rode Barak in the same manner in that particular night journey.
Dude, stop lying. They rode him. What, you're getting it backwards, like Sajid when he interprets the Quran. You're getting everything backwards.
You see. Reason Answer said, Shake the Man runs Rationalized Assertions channel. Wait, that's a real...
Wait, it's a real guy? I thought I couldn't tell if he was joking or not. Someone responded. What, Thaddeus, what did you say you responded to? Thaddeus, why don't you... You've got my phone number. Just send me a text. Let me see.
What Rationalized Assertions? I don't even find such a channel. Are you making this up? Are you making this up?
It's got to be rationalized. You wouldn't call something, you would call it rational assertions, not rationalized assertions.
Rational assertions.
I'm assuming he's joking still, but that does seem like something someone would be dumb enough to come up with.
I bet he's trolling us, and
he's obviously trolling us, but
he's
if there's
giggling to himself and making us Google this stuff. Yeah.
Saying "shake the man" doesn't even sound correct.
Shake the man. Children, just your weekly reminder that David Wood once said, "Look how noble I am." Yeah, Chernobyl.
Oh yeah, that's funny.
Chernobyl. Still radioactive. I know this is. I try not to remember that, Torin, but thank you. Shunya says, shortest ceasefire vis-a-vis Indo-Pak comment. What happened? I'm not really up to the recent detail in terms of Pakistan and India. India, Pakistan agreed to ceasefire. Okay, right now it's still holding. Claims of violations as world come ceasefire deal. The ceasefire is still allegedly holding, but both sides have accused each other of violating the ceasefire. First, it was
to be clear, violating the ceasefire, but not in the way the men of Al-Zut violated Muhammad. Just want to clarify.
Oh yeah, that's a good. Thank you for pointing this out. This is important. This is very important. But yeah, apparently the ceasefire is still holding technically, so that's what it looks like. That's what it looks like. Christ is God, said AP, when you're getting baptized. Love from a Copt. What's up, man? Shout out to Copts. Copts are super based. Coptic Christians are super based. Now I'm going to get attacked for this statement. When am I getting baptized? Soon, inshallah.
I know the answer.
Yeah, I gave David a possible date at which it might happen, but I'm going to probably make it public very soon once I know. Inshallah.
Well, it's going to be cool because right after you come up out of the water, the drum beat's going to start, and then we march straight to the airport, fly right to Constantinople.
Yep, and we're taking it back.
Flag waving. All the Christians are going to be ready. You're going to just see Christians pouring out of various places and stuff, gathering around AP as he marches towards Hagia Sophia. It's going to be unstoppable by the time he actually gets to the church. There's going to be millions of people surrounding him.
Eddie here said love the wig, but misspelled it with an S instead. So Eddie said love the wig, AP. Thank you. Appreciate it. So it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, we know you're foreign, but it's spelled Love.
Yeah, get it right. Baptism by immersion only, the true Orthodox way. Hey, care about your own salvation. Vlad Tipesh. Bloodthirsty, insane person.
Oh, look at me, I'm a vampire. I'll tell you how to get baptized. Come on.
AP, can we watch you being baptized and somebody prayed for you? Maybe. Inshallah.
Ooh, hey, it's kind of messed up. I kind of want to like live stream it. Here we are live. What's up? Yo, what's up, Twitter? I'm here with my main boy AP, and he's about to go. And the priest is all like serious and stuff. I'm like, what?
I'm pretty sure it's going to be like, I probably won't be the only person to get baptized, so, and I don't want to make it all about me. But sure, I will probably have it on camera just to spread it, to spread the word. Spread the word. Inshallah. Holy Joe said Prophet Tales could return with Al-Zut. That'll be pretty nice.
That would be the prophet tale of all prophet tales.
Nathan Beard says, AP, been praying for your health, but I would rather pray for something else. Take care of yourself, please. Yeah, sorry for wasting your time with that, but I think I'm getting better now. So, Christian Killian says, AP, would you say you and David are friends? Which David? Please clarify which.
It's like trillions of Davids in the world, man.
David's are you talking about King David? Can I really call him my friend? In what sense? Considering that
you're talking about David Hasselhoff?
Yeah. You're talking about David
Spade?
Yeah. Talking about David? Yeah. Caldwaraith said David Wood. Yes, I found the email address, but I haven't recorded it yet. Waiting on my beanie.
Well, you better hurry up with that, and it better be something dope. And the shorter the better. Some people are sending me like 7-minute videos and stuff like that. You can't fit those in there.
Nice. Vasileios Polychronidis says, Associated Prophet, you need to visit Mount Athos. I definitely want to do that one day. I seriously want to go and visit Greece with my wife. I went to Greece before and I really loved it, but I feel like I would now have different priorities when I go there, and it could be very interesting. It's of course interesting also to find out that in Mount Athos doesn't accept women as visitors; only men can visit. So if I want to go with my wife, who would be very interested in that, she wouldn't be able to visit. She would only be able to watch, and I would only be able to visit, and I'll be like, so that's kind of funny.
Hey, but your wife could go in there with a disguise, and then all of a sudden be like, "Ha ha!" Pulls off the disguise there, like,
yeah. AP's wife, family from Greece? No, not from Greece. Nothing to do with Greece. My wife is American, purebred American.
And she's proud to be an American, where at least she knows she's not Greek.
Oh yeah, Christian Killian said David Wood. He clarified it. Oh, thank you for clarifying it. Yeah, I would say yes. Yeah. Mark 8 said, show AP the children's book DOC made.
Yeah, Sajid is so bad at understanding the Islamic dilemma. They actually made a little children's book trying to explain it to him. Sad part is he's still not going to understand it.
Really? Where's that children's book? Where can I find it? Can I order it on Amazon?
They showed it in this video, but yeah, it'll need some work. We'll need to expand it a little bit, but yeah, I've actually suggested, hey, making an actual children's book available on Amazon. How cool would it be if Christians are actually training their kids in the Islamic dilemma using a children's book, so that kids in the Christian church grow up being aware of how to respond to the Islamic dilemma? And people are think, whoa, what are you going to talk? Guess what? Muslim kids are being trained to attack Christianity.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you train your kids to respond to it when your kids are going to be talking to the Muslim kids in elementary school and middle school and high school, and Muslims are trained to attack? Why would you not train Christian kids to respond? Why?
That's pretty based.
It's extremely based.
Mark H. Show AP the children's book DOC made. Huh, interesting. Cupid VR says, saying the gospel was true once, but now it's false is like saying gravity used to work, but now it's a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, or like the moon used to exist, but now it doesn't.
Based. Dan Chloe says,
Hey,
two
there you go.
sticky notes on a fridge. One reads, there's milk in the fridge. The other reads, that other note is true. There's no milk in the fridge.
Yeah, Dan Clow. Yeah, he messaged me and said, "Hey, you need to explain it in different ways so that they actually get it." But no, this is one way to explain the underlying principle, but it would be a good one, and it's actually good. It would be a good little thumbnail. It'd be a good little thumbnail for a video, and then you explain it. But yeah, you have two sticky notes. One says there's milk in the fridge, and the other says that other note is true. There's no milk in the fridge, right? So it's basically you're dealing with things that are kind of in the ballpark of the liar's paradox, but not quite the same thing. But they're in that sort of realm where there's no way out of this. You're kind of stuck wherever you go.
You see. Oh, there's one of the dummies here in the chat.
Who?
The synagogue of Ramfan that you support blaspheme Jesus.
Yes, and every time you're not killing a Jew, you're supporting the Antichrist.
I have some bad news for you, Nitub Vladimirovich, but the star of Ramfan that you're referring to, by which you're alluding to the Bible pointing out a star for a false god, and thereby then saying that the modern Jews, who you think religiously adopted the Star of David, are using a star for a false god. That star actually doesn't look like the star that Jews use. The Star of Ramfan actually doesn't look like the Star of David. I just want you to know this. And I know you might not trust me because you think, oh, how could I trust you? You work for the Jews. Don't be stupid. Just Google it. Just Google it. Look for it. These are different stars. Secondly, so you not only adopted a stupid false narrative about Jews from memes, you also don't really understand how stupid this argument is on many different levels, including the very star that is nowadays used on the flag of Israel, right, with 6 sides, was also prominently used by Muslims and Christians throughout history. In fact, it was very often used in churches in the East, also in the West. You can find it in many old churches somewhere in the room. You can find it on a window, the Star of David. The Star of David also doesn't have any religious significance to Jews, by the way. So there's another part that you're getting wrong. In fact, you will often see that that the religious Jewish congregations, religious Jewish communities, the Orthodox religious Jewish communities often use as their symbol, for example, a menorah instead of using the Star of David, because the Star of David is considered to be more a unifying cultural identifier of Jews in today's time rather than a religious symbol, which is why it was also chosen as the flag of Israel instead of the religious symbol, which is the menorah. So yeah, I don't know what kind of dumb stuff you're doing here, but you get all your knowledge from dummies who make memes on the internet. So I would suggest informing yourself through better sources instead of being a complete imbecile.
Yeah, so Nitup Vladimirovich, did that go the way you hoped?
He will
Or
just
did you
ignore
just
all
look-
of this anyway. So
Yeah, or did you just look all kinds of stupid?
he will just ignore all of this anyway, and then just evil star. Man. Thank-K. Hey, Mahdi, which CK3 expansions are worth buying? This is a very, very good question. Also very related to our topic. The last one is definitely very, very good. I would definitely recommend it. One that I would definitely avoid is the one that I don't even remember the name of it. Legends or something. Completely ridiculously bad. David has no idea what we are talking about because he is not cool. Alien X, I would say all of them except for the Legends and the Family and Friends ones. Okay. Alien X, the Quran reads like a fan fiction and Islam is a competition for the dawah guys. I think they're all taking bets on how many people take the trap. This is true.
You aren't the only one to conclude that. Alien X. Remember that guy we covered a couple years ago? Musa Sarantonio, whatever. He was a spokesman for ISIS in Australia. Then he went to prison, then became an atheist in prison, and he was saying that he was basically reading Aramaic versions of the Alexander romance, so stories about Alexander the Great. And he said that the Quran is basically 7th century Alexander the Great fan fiction. And he concluded there's no way this is from God.
Alexander the Grape. Wow, Alexander Grape. Aleris Verus says AP and Mahdi's Wood. Did you... Why are you laughing at me? What's wrong with you? AP and Mahdi, did you see that Pakistan declared victory? LMAO. Did they? That was quick.
Wouldn't be surprising.
I didn't see anything of that sort, but it wouldn't be shocking to me either, considering that that's what they do. They urinate upon one another and then they declare victory. That's what they do. Johnny Silverball says, have you talked about the abhorrent practice in Afghanistan known as Bahabazi?
No, what's that? Never heard of that.
Never heard of it.
No, what's that?
Distant, doesn't ring a bell at all.
What possible problems could there be between Islam and kids? Doesn't make any sense.
I think is it a video game? I don't know. I recently learned about it and I want to vomit. Interesting. David, have you ever talked about this?
No, what's that? No idea.
Interesting. Trillion says, what a rude way to respond to a super chat, man. What's wrong with you? Yeah, we talked about it a few times in the past. I think we haven't ever made like an exclusive long conversation or a video about it or anything like that. Maybe that's something that David should do instead of being lazy. But yeah, it is about gay child abuse in Afghanistan and all that. It's pretty messed up. Cultural tradition. Trillion, since I finally caught alive.
Little side note, apparently the abuse of boys was pretty standard in Islam up until pressure from Western nations to stop it. And so lots of Muslim countries had to, start cracking down on the practice, but there are places where it's still going on.
That's true. That's what they do. Since I finally caught alive, here's my jizya. After a long while, just know we still watch your live streams with the live chats, even if we miss them. And we appreciate that. Thank you, Trillion. I missed my bad. Sure you did. I believe you. Songs of Relief. AP's room changes in a manner befitting his majesty. Indeed. Flip 34. Dawood, please do in Joker voice.
Yeah, she keeps pointing out when I do my Sajid voice, she says I sound like the Joker, and I thought she would meant the Heath Ledger, but the lines here, these are from like the 1988 or 1989 Jack Nicholson version. So I didn't know that's what I was doing. I was just imitating Sajid with his whisper voice. But so this is where he's talking to his buddy with the long hair. Who is his buddy in real life? But he says, "Remember, you are my number one guy." No, I can't even do it. I can't even do it while I'm trying to do it. I'm not used to imitating Jack Nicholson's Joker. And then later on, he's got his balloons with the poison gas, and Batman cuts the cord of all of them, and they send flying off, and he says, "My balloons." Wait, no, I can't do it. I got to do it in the Sajid whisper voice, right? So I'll just try and do it like Sajid. You tell me his name. "Those are my balloons. He stole my balloon." That doesn't sound like Jack Nicholson to me. I don't know what you're hearing.
Huh, interesting.
Didn't he flip out at that point? "My balloons. Those are my balloons. He stole my balloons." Anyway, I don't remember. I haven't seen that since I was.
So he was
middle school, I think, when that came out.
Do you know? You know, there is a trend we have recently pointed out often, that there is this that certain people who are deeply sick, like Nicolás Cifuentes, the Mexican Nazi. Here he says Team Hitler. So this guy says Team Portnoy in a little altercation between Dave Portnoy and this other dude.
Mhm.
So this guy says Team Portnoy, and Nick Fuentes responds to it with Team Hitler, by which he's, of course, completely serious.
And how many people liked that?
25,000 people.
And I have to say, all you guys who, let me put it this way, all you Andrew Wilson fans and so on who think that you shouldn't
Don't
support.
talk trash about Andrew Wilson, man. Andrew Wilson and I are cool.
I don't care what you are. I'm saying it, Andrew Wilson. All you Andrew Wilson fans who think it's wrong and immoral to say that Jews have a right to exist and defend themselves. Here's the airtight case right here for why Jews need a place where they can defend themselves. Because wherever else they go, you've got people like this and like people like these 25,000 people, and they're kind of a fraction of it. But these people are all over the place.
Yeah. I have to say, if anybody is actually, and I said this before, and I will say it now more so than ever before, if anyone proclaims to be a Christian, right, proclaims to be a Christian who actually takes his Christian beliefs seriously, if anybody does that, and at the same time, in all seriousness, praises Hitler, and actually takes Hitler as a good example, praises Hitler, that person is not only not a Christian, he's also an enemy of Christians and an enemy of Christianity as well, and an enemy of humanity, and an enemy not only of Jews but of all people around the world. I will say it again: anybody who, while proclaiming to be a Christian, praises Hitler and takes Hitler as a good example, and I really don't care if this fits into your narrative of what you can and cannot judge, or whose faith you can and cannot judge. It's just clear as day with everything that we know about Hitler and everything that we know about his relationship with Christianity and so on. If you proclaim to be a Christian and you also are a fan of Hitler, yes, Jackson, yes, I hope you're not one of those imbeciles who say, oh, but what about Stalin? Yes, Stalin too. Stalin too. Are you happy now? If you then are a fan of Hitler, you are not only not a Christian, you're also an enemy of all Christians, and an enemy of Christianity, and an enemy of all humanity, and an enemy of all that is good. If you are somebody who actually thinks that you can be a fan of Hitler, that you can like Hitler, that you can think Hitler was just, the good guy or something, and you think this is in line with your traditional, with your conservative values and all that, then you are seriously, incredibly, absolutely, horribly misinformed. Horribly misinformed. But here we are crossing a huge line. Here we go into such territory where you just don't have the luxury of just being misinformed, of just being ignorant. It's not an excuse, okay? It's not an excuse. Being ignorant is not an excuse here. This guy not only massacred and aimed to exterminate, aimed to eradicate, aimed to annihilate and mass kill the Jews, he also aimed to eradicate and mass kill other populations. I know many of these imbeciles do not care about Jews, do not like Jews, but it's not just about Jews, it's also about others. Yes, the focus was Jews, but Hitler was very, very much also adamant on eradicating the Polish people, on eradicating the Russian people, on eradicating religious people of all kinds that opposed him, of eradicating intellectuals, of destroying religious places, and he put it into practice and put it into the works to also get rid of Christianity, to change the Bible, and to introduce his own way and make people worship him, because he was a sick, sick bastard. And if you are somebody who actually thinks, oh, I'm traditional and I don't trust the media and I don't trust them Jews and all that, and you actually praise Hitler, I don't want to say what I used to say. in the past in terms of what you should do, but please shut the hell up and inform yourself. And don't be a horrible, horrible human being. Anyway, what is it, David? What is it that you want to say? What's the problem, David?
You said it all, man.
You think so? That's good. That's good. So, David, I don't know if you've ever come across some of the posts, some of the articles, or things that people have written about the Islamic dilemma. I think this person here, Anthony James, I think he invented the Islamic dilemma actually.
Smart.
In 2025, March.
Smart.
Have you ever had a look at the Islamic dilemma and how people have described it, other than you?
Mm-mm.
So I wonder what you think about how this explains it.
Yeah, I see a bunch of Muslims flipping out about it and making videos, but yeah. That's
So
about it.
the Islamic dilemma in a nutshell. In short, the argument is simple. The Quran tells Christians to refer to and judge by their own scriptures and the gospel that Allah gave the Christians their scriptures. Allah's words cannot be changed. This might be intellectually acceptable if the Quran just expanded on the gospel and the Christian scriptures, but it doesn't do that. Instead, having affirmed the Christian scriptures, the very same Quran goes on to make specific claims that positively contradict the Christian revelations that it has also affirmed as true. The result of this is that Allah is either not omniscient and therefore not God, or more likely, the human source of the Quran, Muhammad, was inconsistent and or ignorant of the orthodox Christian cultures outside of Arabia. In this context, let's not forget Islam was spread rapidly by the sword, not by intellectual debate and evangelization. Do you think that this here is very much sufficiently accurate?
That's not how I frame it, but there are different ways of making the presenting the dilemma. Like the way I present it is different from the way Wes Huff presents it, and it's different from the way this guy presents it. But same idea, same idea.
So if you could break it down into like into the shortest possible way, what would it be if you just put it into like 3 lines or something like that?
The
Make
Quran
everybody
affirms the Bible, but the Quran contradicts the Bible on basic doctrines. Therefore, whether the Bible is true or false, Islam is false.
Wow. Now, I also came up with a different way of explaining it, and I wonder what you think of it. So here it is.
Tell me now, my brother, why is my book corrupted? When the Quran said go read it. What kind of rhythm you play, man? Them said the Quran straight from Jah above, word for word from the heavenly dove. Yet the same book say my gospel holy, guidance and light. That sound like glory. So me open up the book, me read and see Christ on the cross crucified for me. But then your Quran said that never be. So me ask you plainly, how can both be? Who tell you judge by it?
I don't realize that this is since this is in Jamaican, it might be difficult for you to understand.
We understand it. I just everyone's disappointed because you always use these songs but never actually finish or release any of them.
Okay, so I also have it actually in English here. Wait a minute.
Tell me now, my brother, why do you say my book's been changed? When your own book told you to read it. Something don't add up. They say the Quran straight from above, every word from the mouth of God's love. But then it tells me the gospel is light, and to judge by what's in it, that's right. So I open it up and read what it says. Jesus died and he rose from the dead, but your book says no, he never died. So which one's true? Somebody lied. Who told you to judge by if it's broken? Why call it light then claim it was stolen? Your claim crashes down in all its glory. Surah 5 says to follow the word given to Christians straight from the Lord. Surah 10 says if you're unsure, ask the people who knew it before. But our gospel says Jesus is Lord, crucified, risen, that's what's stored. And our scriptures older than yours, written down long before Muhammad's tours. So tell me, friend, what do you choose? If you pick both, then both you lose. If the gospel is true, the Quran is wrong. If it's false, then why does it play along? And if God's word can never be changed, who corrupted it and who arranged? And why does your book lean on mine while calling its heart a faulty sign? Who told you to judge by it if it's broken? Why call it light then claim it was stolen? You can't praise the map then toss out the way. You build on the rock, then dig it away. Now some say only part is true, but your book never said which part to view. Is it Matthew or is it John? Tell me which verse to lean upon. But truth ain't served by picking and choosing. That's not faith, that's just confusing. You either believe it or say it's a lie, but you can't stand in both camps and try.
Or are you saying
It's a trap
and the prophet
got it all mismatched,
and the message
built on contradiction,
and the claim?
lack solid conviction? Who told you to judge by it if it's broken? Why call it?
So what do you think about it?
Oh, it's good. It just we'll never hear it again because you never release any of these.
Oh, this will be released, man.
Oh yeah, sure it will.
But you think it captures the picture pretty much?
Yeah, and I think you need to get the video really well done of you in that costume and sort of lip syncing to it, like it's you singing it and stuff like this, you at a keyboard and stuff like this, and singing it, but also like the verses popping up on the screen.
Well, we already know that you will come over to visit me when I get baptized.
That's true.
So when you come over to visit me when I get baptized, we will record this video together,
We can do that.
and we will then publish it.
Mm-hmm. And then the kuffar will be humiliated.
You see? Fantastic. There you go.
Wait, am I going to be in
Oh,
the video too?
Of course.
Because I'm going to need some really long dreads.
Yeah. You're going to be in the video too. You got to get some big dreads, like not like mine, which are pathetic.
Or
Like-
or I could be like Snow. Remember Snow?
No.
Okay. Yeah, he was a like he lives up to his name, and then he's a super white guy who sang Jamaican songs. But what's crazy is they actually respect him. All the Rasta dudes actually respect him for how he crushed it, which is weird because he's like the whitest white dude you've ever seen.
Oh, that's funny.
You never heard the song Informer?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
Snow.
yeah,
That's Snow. Look up that dude. That is the whitest white guy you've ever seen in your life.
Beast.
Apparently, what's crazy is apparently the dude's like gangsta as anything. Like this dude will roll up on people with an army.
Oh, that's powerful. Okay, so you have to. I pulled up here a picture of a ginger dude. Considering that you are also pretty much ginger. So you would have to get something like this.
I will.
Something very long like this guy.
I will.
And then we can record the video together,
Mhm.
which is very, very cool. Okay, awesome, man, awesome. There you go. Islamic dilemma explained and easily broken down. The Ummah will never, ever recover from this. It will be the destruction, the absolute humiliation, and a wonderful gift. Forever. For all times. Once I get baptized. And the next step, you know what it is. We take back Constantinople. And we take back that Hagia Sophia and we give it right back to Greece and say, hey, take this and do with it as you wish. And then what do we do next? I meet up with the heads of the churches and say, hey, it's time to stop the fighting. Next day they will come together forever.
And then all the Jews in Israel will be like, huh, it worked with Constantinople. Why can't it work here with the Temple Mount?
Yeah, exactly. So things are going to get pretty smooth and nice when I get baptized quite soon. Style and rail woodworking, Dawa Dawa bills, y'all.
It's Dawa Dawa bills, y'all. That could be another song.
Yeah. Thesaurus Magnus says, Thesaurus Magnus says, Davi Madeira. Will your sons take your place in the fight against Islam? Oh, hi, AP. Ugh, don't mind me. I'm just sitting here.
Possibly not directly as far as confronting the ideology, but my two oldest sons, one is building nuclear aircraft carriers and the other is going into cybersecurity. So kind of those are things that will eventually be dealing with Islam in a different way.
Huh. Well, this is why you have to force them to focus on Islam. So, yeah. Asa, what's up, Asa? Good to see you. So happy to see your boys together online. Thank you. Not sure which boys you're talking about. I'm new here. Giovanni JD, I know this is cringe and off topic, but despite AP being wrong on Zionism, it was cool to see someone finally call out the lame sophistry, rhetoricism of Wilson. AP won despite being wrong. W. You are wrong. And I'm going to ban you here. Bye. Thank you. Appreciate that. Drake says, get a haircut, AP. No, I'm going to let it all grow. Asa, so happy to see our boys together online. Is this the second one? That's cool. Thank you, Asa. Good to see you here. Jeremy Mohammed's 1.8 is a Quranic miracle as well. It is, indeed. It is. I think it is. It is a big miracle. No pun intended. River Chase says, and lo, in the final hours, Allah shall raise up the Mahdi, a guide ordained by divine decree. He, the best of Turkeys, shall be of Ottoman blood, a descendant of a wolf. Injil 841. This is pretty.
It's in the book of the Council of Nicaea too.
It is, yeah. They removed it by force, yeah, because they were scared of it. Living with Jay says, somebody tell this guy about your mama. Your mama was so scared that when everyone died in battle, they made the Quran into a book. Yeah, terrible stuff. Your mama was so deadly. Yeah, it almost killed the Quran. Sarah F. Sajid, Jesus is Muslim proof in the Injil. Also, Sajid, no Injil, you don't have it. Can't stay any longer because we'll be late for Mass tomorrow. God bless you. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, due to Mr. Take a Look Around says, The Life of Muhammad by Ibn Ishaq, page 104. Best evidence to prove gospel authority and writer. Even their own sources say it's not anonymous. Ugh. Now you made me drop all my books here. What's wrong with you?
That's probably the part that quotes the Gospel of John.
The Gospel of John, Gospel of John, page 104. Page 104. So let's see. Page 104. It is extracted from what John the Apostle set down for them when he wrote the gospel for them from the testament of Jesus, son of Mary. He that hateth me hath hated the Lord. And if I had not done in their presence works which none other before me did, they had not had sin. But from now they are puffed up with pride and think that they will overcome me and also the Lord. But the word that is in the law must be fulfilled. They hated me without a cause. But when the Comforter has come for whom God will send to you from the Lord's presence. So yes, this is very, very funny. This is very, very funny. Here is the earliest biographies, which Muslims still take and read right here. It directly says, contrary to what Sajid Lipham claims, directly says right here that it was John the Apostle who wrote in the gospel. This is very, very funny.
Yeah, it's weird because the only way that Sajid could come anywhere close to a coherent position, given what he's saying, because he's saying you shouldn't call any book a book of Allah if it's been corrupted and so on, or if it's been changed. And yet Allah calls the book that Jews and Christians have in the 7th century the Torah and the Gospel. So following Sajid's own reasoning, Allah's either horribly wrong or the Torah and the Gospel were reliable in the 7th century. Now, the question would then become, if the Torah and the Gospel are reliable in the 7th century, that means Christians had those books in the 1st century, the 2nd century, the 3rd century, the 4th century, the 5th century, the 6th century, all the way into the 7th century. Okay, that sounds like a book that's been preserved for a long time and we should actually have, but you'd have to say, nope, but right after that, it was lost. Right after that, it was lost. The Torah and the Gospel were lost. Okay, well, then the early Muslims should have an understanding of that. And so Ibn Ishaq should have an understanding of that. And yet, what is Ibn Ishaq quoting as the Gospel? He's quoting the Gospel of John.
Yeah, Muslim. That's very, very funny.
So why wasn't he quoting some other book that they understood as the Gospel? Why is he going to the Gospel of John?
Exactly. And the Gospel of John, of all Gospels, is also, by the way, very, very, very interesting. Very interesting. In fact, I brought this up when I had the back and forth with Sajid Lippim, where he was telling me that the Gospels, as they are actually very much in line with the Islamic idea. And I was like, are you freaking serious, man? You freaking serious? Have you ever read the Gospel of John? Do you know how it starts? You want to really do this, man? You want to do this, son? Really want to look at that? You really want to have a look at that, son? I don't think you want to do that, son. That's what I told him directly like that. Because for those Muslims who do not know this is actually very, very funny, man. We should contrast these things. I mean, somebody like David, you should make a video about this, but you're lazy because you don't do this. But you could easily take what Ibn Ishaq says in his biography, where he says on page 104 that it was John who wrote the Gospel on the account of Jesus, and then you can directly take the beginning of the Gospel here and see what it says. It's right here. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and without him nothing was made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not comprehend it. So this is directly how it starts. David, you probably didn't know that this is how John starts, but you could use this, for example, to clearly and very nicely explain how even the earliest biographies about Muhammad's life affirm Christian beliefs without really understanding it, without really knowing it. You could easily make a video about this. It takes you 2 seconds. See? Inspiring Philosophy said, watch my 15 video playlist on gospel reliability. One of the videos covers all the evidence that Jesus spoke Greek. This is very, very based.
Shocker. Inspiring Philosophy here to promote his own videos in someone else's live stream. Shocker. Shocker.
Yeah, this is
So
very,
recently,
very rude. But then the thing is, I also, the good thing is that I charge Inspiring Philosophy for whenever he appears here and, mentions himself. So
Yeah, he gave you $10 right there.
Yeah, see. Owen Robertson says, please add colorful beadings to those dreads. I am digging the look. Let your personality pop. I actually ordered these things, and they came with these little fake things to put on the dreads. But as you can see, one is over here. But the thing is, it came like with 6 of them or so, and almost all of them broke as I was putting them on. So whoever sold this crap really needs to do a better job. But thank you. Apple Baker. AP, when you were a devout Muslim, were you aware of the Al-Zud Hadith? What were your thoughts about it? David Wood, how do Dawa guys spin this Hadith? No, I wasn't aware of it at all. And I still don't know much about it, to be honest.
Well, they either say it's unreliable. Problem is you have various isnads, but they basically, they can throw out pretty much anything they don't like. They just say, oh, nope, we've looked into it. You can always find someone that some scholar has said is unreliable. So that's what they'll do. That's one way. And the other way is they'll mistranslate the word, which means road, and they'll say it just meant sort of crowded around, and they'll say it's a bunch of jinn, and that Muhammad is he's just preaching to the jinn, and they just crowded around him for a little while. Doesn't explain other things like why he's in pain at the end of it and passes out from exhaustion and so on. But
That's pretty messed up.
it's an extremely messed up story. I got to go check on something real quick.
Okay.
See who's watching my kid now.
Why do Jewish American students protest for Hamas? I would leave it to a Jewish person to explain and understand and explain this. But as in every community, in the Jewish community as well, there are some people who have a habit of being self-hating and of kind of going against the very same people that they claim to be for. And especially among very, very leftist and secularist circles among Jewish Americans, you have certain groups of people that only remember that they are Jewish when the opportunity arises, and they can say, "As a Jew, I oppose this Jewish thing." So there are these people who do dumb stuff like that, very, very often among leftist, atheistic or Reform Jewish people. Don't want to blame them all now, but many of them do this kind of dumb stuff where they actually go and support the most ridiculous anti-Israeli things. Just recently, there was an article actually written in the New York Times by a leftist Jew about how Israel is not our friend, and you could see neo-Nazis celebrating it. Seriously. A Jewish guy writes an article in the New York Times about how Israel is not our friend. And who is celebrating it the most? The vilest, most anti-Semitic people out there celebrate it. And every single time you could explain it to these dumb ones among the Jews, that they are simply just serving those Jew haters who would never discriminate between good Jew and bad Jew, if things got serious, but they never get it. They still keep on serving the anti-Semitic idiots there. That's what they do. And yeah, lots of people have, people came up with a name for them as, who is that? Where is that? K Alifi, correct. We call them as a Jews. Yeah, this is an actual term. This is an actual meme by now, as a Jews. Because this is a name given to people who have very, very little to do with Judaism, very little to do with being Jewish, but whenever the opportunity arises where they can virtue signal and speak out against Jewish stuff, they say, "Oh, as a Jew, I find this very, very wrong. As a Jew, I think Israel has no right to exist. As a Jew," and so on. This is a very, 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 very common pattern. And I guess among certain populations like Jewish people, where there are people who push against Jews in very, very vile ways, you will find some that internalize the hate and also start hating the Jews, which is, yeah. And unfortunately, those people are the biggest enemies of Jews and of Israel. Those who are anti-Jewish and anti-Israeli. Pretty bad. Among them, very famously and popularly, the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, which is a horrible, horrible organization that has not done nothing to help over the years and has only done things like fighting Islamophobia and dumb stuff like that. Dumbest people around. Terrible. But yes, I said I would leave it to a Jew to explain this, and then I just explained the whole thing. That's what I do. Why does Larry David hate Donald Trump so much, yet has not even commented on how Jewish American students are being harassed and threatened by Antifa? Well, he's an elitist guy. He's rich. He has his fun. As much as I like his comedy, I love his comedy, the guy is just a complete idiot. So that's that. Muhammad Undercover, play the real cool and smart Muhammad. Pray the real cool and smart Muhammad Hijab. Yeah, I do that. Mojab met Mijab. Watch your recent debate. Top 3 takeaways. Who are you talking to? To me? You talking 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 to me? Well, my opponent was not very much engaged with the Bible, despite it being a debate about Christians. So he really didn't like he really didn't go into the Bible. He had no response on how Romans 9 through 11 was very much in line with my idea that that the Jews still have a special place in Christianity. And the other thing is that people like to just believe whatever their side says when their side likes appealing to the crowd. That's what Andrew Wilson did. No, Andrew Wilson and I, we made peace, and we're pretty friendly to each other. But his methods during the debate were pretty bad, very, very bad. Magic Jew blood. Here it is, magic Jew blood. Magic Jew blood. Magic Jew blood. Okay, Leafy, Dave Smith has some Jewish ancestry, so he's like those secret gay guys that are really homophobic. Yeah. Isn't he like somebody in his family is Jewish, but he has nothing to do with it, and then he goes around claiming that he's a Jew, and he has an opinion on this, which is for that reason. I mean, to be very honest, to be very, very freaking honest here, with all due respect, if you are a Jewish American who has never visited Israel, who has nothing to do with Judaism, who is in no way connected to Israel, except that your parents or that your grandparents or your great-grandparents are in some way Jewish, and you come to the scene and you say, as a Jew, I think, I'm sorry, but nobody gives a damn what you think. Such a person's opinion is not more valid than my opinion. I would say my opinion is more valid than those people's opinion, because I actually went to Israel at least once. So, yeah. Zed Head says, I don't
I just want to point out, is that Dave Smith dude? Have we ever seen that dude? Even once. Even once. Blow the shofar?
No.
Okay. How many times have we seen you do that? Like dozens? You're not even Jewish? Like a chorus of little birdies.
It was the most beautiful sound I've heard in my entire life. See? Because of what you have just witnessed, I am now the foremost authority on everything regarding Israel and Jews. So, yeah. I don't even believe in the Islamic dilemma anymore of 1,500 years of Christians battling against Islam, and it's this easy to refute it. David, what do you think?
Yeah, problem was 1,500 years of Christians, not quite 1,500 years yet, but entire history of Islam. Vast majority of Christians didn't know anything about what the Quran says. And so they didn't know enough to actually go to the Quran. Very few people could have ever done that. It's only possible now to make this widely available to Christians. And still, vast majority of Christians right now don't know it. But even a handful of Christians knowing it is able to wreak complete havoc on the Dawah community. So imagine what would happen if Christians in general learned this.
That's true. That's true. That would be pretty base. Which is why it is an obligation upon David Wood to write a book called The Islamic Dilemma.
How about the Islamic Dilemma Nation?
How about no?
The Nation of Islamic Dilemma Nation.
No, you're supposed to write The Islamic Dilemma. How one argument destroys Islam permanently.
How one argument intellectually molests the Dawah clowns.
How one argument intellectually... Anyway.
How one argument forces the Dawah clowns to their knees in intellectual submission. And they open their mouths in protest to find that they have been defiled by the truth of the Islamic dilemma.
Man. Yeah, that's what Muhammad Hijab said. Powerful. AP, aka Lil Uzi. Yeah, I should come up with a Lil name for myself.
Uzi's funny because that's Israeli.
Yeah. Mothman 313 boys, today is my 25th birthday. Gave me some mid-20s wisdom. Love you, gents. Well, first off, nobody cares that it's your birthday. Just kidding.
I
Happy
do.
birthday
That's
to
why we
you.
sing, "Hey Mothman, it's your birthday. Go Mothman, it's your birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday
birthday
to
to
you. Happy
Happy
birthday,
birthday,
dear
dear
Mothman.
Mothman.
Happy
Happy
birthday to
birthday
you.
to you."
Okay. What is some wisdom that you can give to a 20-year-old guy, David?
Mid-20s?
Yeah.
Go with your heart. Follow your heart.
Listen to your heart.
No, seriously, more seriously. The biggest wisdom we can give you is hips don't lie.
No, seriously. The biggest advice we can give you is stay away from Islam.
Yeah, and at 25, you're just about to start entering the phase where you aren't sure that you know everything. So you have, kids are younger, they tend to listen to their parents and stuff. And then once they hit a certain age, then they think they know everything and they've got everything figured out, and they'll run around protesting everything, thinking that they're right. And then later on, you find out, man, I had no clue what I was talking about back then. So you are right about to enter the phase of your life where, oh man, all this stuff I thought I was right on point about, a couple years ago. I don't know. Now I'm in the real world. But this is a good time. So you can learn all sorts of dope stuff and not think you know everything.
The difficult part also is, Mothman, that you just you turn 25, which means that you are pretty much at the end of your life. I mean, there's not much left, and in my opinion, there's not much to hope for. Not much to go
That's
for.
a long time for a moth.
Yeah.
Even a Mothman.
You are pretty much almost dead, so I would think about how to live out the rest of your small life that you have left. You are pretty much through it, so it's probably time to get serious. Yeah.
A life expectancy of a moth.
What is it, like 1 day, 2 days?
Whoa! Adult moths live anywhere from a few days to several months. Dude, you are
Really?
Yeah, you are Stone Age, man. You are super senior citizen. Now we understand that you're a Mothman, you're not just a moth, but I would expect a Mothman to live like a couple of years at most. So yeah, enjoy it while you have it, man. You're not going to last much longer.
Yeah. I am much older than 25. Not much older, actually, just a bit older than 25.
Well, it's because you're part otter.
And I would say that I have not obtained much wisdom in my life. I have walked again and again and found myself at a place of ignorance, despite taking every turn and walking ahead and continuing and thinking I have it all figured out, but in the end there is nothing left but ignorance. And even in the end, I lived through the 70th year, and the 140th year I will still be as ignorant as I was when I was 7 years old. There's always more to learn.
Average lifespan of an otter is 10 to 15 years, but they can live up to 25 years in captivity. So if you're an otter man, then you would average the lifespan of an otter with the lifespan of a man. And so AP, you're getting up there. You're getting up there a little bit as an otter man.
Yeah. And no matter how old you get and no matter how much you have learned, in the end, you haven't learned anything. You have learned nothing. Even if you have sat and learned for 140 years, the amount of things you have learned amount to nothing at all. That's what you should remember. Gorno's Bulldozer says, AP looks like he's going to say baklava is Greek. It is Greek, man. What's your problem? Everything is Greek. Christian Gadfly, don't shake the man, shake the sinner. Hey, did you see Christian Gadfly's video?
Oh yeah, it's pretty powerful. You should watch it. It's only 3 minutes.
It's so
Go ahead and play it, man.
It's so stupid. I actually had it open here somewhere because I thought I might have it.
Who is the Mahdi?
So
The correct answer is that D. Wood is the Mahdi.
the video is titled "Who is the Mahdi?"
I
and
am the Mahdi.
I looked at it and I find it hilarious. So gotta do that. Gotta do that.
It's been on my mind. Everything has
Smoking crack.
changed since I saw that video.
Let's talk about this Christian ideology, this cult Christian ideology.
This dude
where
talking
they
about a cult.
attack children and their real agenda, which is not spreading love and light and the gospel. It's really about domination, control, power, and taking over.
Couldn't let this go. I had to get to the bottom of it. But for the longest time, nothing. But then, unexpected,
Haram.
one day everything changed.
I, meanwhile, got more and more into communism, into revolutionary communism. It intensified more and more.
But at the same time, I was always talking to my aunt in Germany. For me, she would send me things from Germany. She would talk to me online. She would call me. She was a very free mind person. She was a Western person. She was there. She was a German Western person. She was very different. She was very different. For me, she would send me things from Germany. She would talk to me online. She would call me. She was a very free mind person.
Well,
For me, she would send me things from Germany. She would talk to me online.
This is so stupid. It's so random. Hail the Mahdi, the Christian Brotherhood.
That was when I started to connect the dots.
Hail the Mahdi.
See, it was all connected.
He's in Morocco. He lives in Morocco. Then you have this other clown, Fareed. He's in Bahrain. Just understand it for what it is. This is just a psyop from Unit 8200. And the electronic flies straight from Riyadh or Dubai. And increasingly now Morocco.
The more I learned, the more paranoid I got. Looking over my shoulder, I started to realize that this team had members everywhere. Their leader, David Wood, the cockroach. He was a psychopath. Next, Mr. Rogers. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood for Grand Theft Auto. And then Mike Jones. Who? Mike Jones. Who? Mike Jones! Last and least, Ali Dawa, a humble Viagra salesman. But who was the Mahdi, and how could I find him? I knew every detail mattered, and I couldn't stop looking. But things got stranger and stranger the further I got.
Oh, I'm Hafiz.
Hello? Guess it was nothing.
We got to get some more people in here. Make sure you guys share this video. We need more people in here. Get this video shared to everybody you can possibly get it out to.
That's it. This is so stupid.
It's a powerful message, though.
There's something just about this ridiculous humor here that I find awesome. Just the complete random nonsense that he put in there for a joke, man. But I'm still curious what happens next, man. I'm still really curious what happens next.
You'll have to find out in the Mahdi Tales.
Follower of the Christ says AP, King David prayed for the destruction of his enemies. If they become your brothers, then they are no longer your enemies. Well, it's a different thing, right? What he does is him saying, and they surround me and they do this, may they be destroyed who come after me, for example, stuff like that, you know, and such. And also, the commandments that we are given directly by Jesus in the New Testament, you see.
David wasn't given those commands.
You see. But David, what are you saying? What are you going to say in response to this?
I'm just saying.
Oh, okay. Well, the thing here is also, I guess, if you pray for them and they become your brothers, then they are no longer your enemies. Okay, yeah, I didn't pay attention to that part. No, it all makes sense. So, yeah. Sorry, it's because of my hair and because of my sunglasses. I can't get the whole picture right now. I have become dumber, I think, since I put on this wig. So I only got half of what you're actually saying here. Now I get it. Now it makes all sense. Thank you. Appreciate that. Jacob, why are Turks so much more overtly anti-American than other Muslim groups? They are so much more hostile than Iranians and even Arabs. What is the reasoning behind this? Well, Turks are pretty horrible people, and they are very racist. And it is very much part of the Turkish system, the Turkish education system, the Turkish ethos, you could say, to learn basically that you're better than everyone else, and that all the other people are horrible, and so on. In Turkey, it's also very common to be very, very extremely racist against Arabs. So the whole Turkish thing is a little bit out of control. But David, what do you think about this as a Turk?
Yeah, you have sort of cultural supremacist views among Turks and Iranians and Arabs. With the Iranians, the regular people, they have a problem with their Muslim leaders. In other words, they have something which, I mean, I guess Turks are similar, but not to the same extent as Iranians, where like their pride as Persian people, like just it's before Islam. You know what I mean? It's before it, and it's the same with the Turks, but it seems to still be a bigger part of Iranians that they're thinking of themselves as awesome people. And hey, weren't we even awesomer before Islam? And so they don't have the same like religious hostility towards America that their leaders would have.
Yeah, well, David, when I asked your opinion, I was actually joking. So
I'm breaking it down. Turks, they have all this nationalism, all this arrogance, but it has become intertwined with Islam, and that Iranians are actually able to take a step back from the allegiance to Islam, that the Turks aren't doing very well anymore.
Yeah. So basically, the Turks are the best. That's basically what David is saying. Le Petit Chris says, I had made an Islam verse of Shake It from Metro Station for you called Shake It, but sending it here would be $300. So yeah, here's a $5. You can always send just an email or something. Thank you.
It turns out otters do not make good pets.
Yeah, I would have guessed that. Yeah.
I'm just saying, because I've seen people, with otters climbing on them and stuff, and I thought it was cool. But it turns out they require tons of water, and you need a bunch of them. They say they get miserable unless they have a bunch of other otters to roll with.
Aren't they terrible carriers of diseases and stuff?
That's also on the list. They carry horrible. They can be carriers of diseases that can be transmitted to humans or other pets.
Yeah.
So they are good spreaders of diseases.
I would bet that you might get some really, really bad diseases that might otherwise be very far from humans.
Yeah, same with the Dawa guys and them going around banging all these different hotel wives and stuff. They're like otters.
So the otters and Dawa guys usually to give you horrible, horrible diseases if you're around.
And that's why the Turks are especially bad, because they take all the natural problems with otters and they combine them with all the problems of Islam.
Yeah. Vlad Tepes gave Islam the al-Zut treatment. Well, to be honest, he was also later humiliated and killed and publicly displayed. So
no, because then he lived for centuries as a vampire.
Yeah, before that. Yeah. Ida Rogozin, what's up, Ida Beast? A Vader says, but if you have not either, pour out water thrice upon the head into the name of the Father and Son and Holy Spirit. Didache, chapter 7. Powerful, powerful, powerful. My baptism would, in any case, take place with a 3 times immersion. That's how it is. CN1 Itchchicks says, "Hail to the real Mehdi, Mike Winger."
In my video, he's going to be the mysterious anti-pope.
He also supports Israel based on Romans 9-11. Great guy. Really? Did he say anything about this? He doesn't strike me as somebody who would actually even comment on any of that stuff.
He's like, no, I'm too busy declaring war on any Christian who has any followers, so I can be the only Christian in the world who has followers.
Powerful, powerful, powerful. Ida Rogozin, oh, at least my favorite couple is back together. Who are you talking about? I don't know. Probably Brad Pitt or something. Did you know that Brad Pitt is actually based on an ancient practice where they would, if they had like too much leftover bread, they would dig a pit and throw all the leftover bread into that. So they called it Bread Pit. And then that became a name later on. Yeah, now you know. Cam says, the only thing good about the Pakistan-India war is I've been getting less spam calls, inshallah. This is the thing. I was pointing that out.
Messed up.
Like if a full-blown war breaks out between Pakistan and India, we will have difficulties getting tech service on the line. We will have difficulties with all that, but we will also be relieved from all the spam calls and all that. So scam callers and all that stuff. Nobody will be telling us to buy gift cards and send them money and stuff, Red Sainwa says, hope AP doesn't go Jew, don't want circumcision video.
Here's my circumcision video.
Well, if I became a Jew, I would also have to get baptized, by the way. So little do you know. See how the Christian says, hey AP, do you believe the Crusades were justified considering the Christians were defending their land from Islamic terror? Well, we talked about this very, very much in the past. Also came up recently. I think that fundamentally and essentially and initially, the Crusades were completely justified. So calling for the Crusades and organizing the Crusades and fighting back, historically speaking, they were totally justified. The thing is that there were things that were done as part of the Crusades that were totally not justified, that are unjustifiable. There were severe mistreatments of different people, different populations. Even of, and by this, I am usually talking about the Christian populations or the Jewish populations that were mistreated by Crusaders, but I would also even be talking about the Muslim populations, to be very, very honest here. So the Crusades, while they started out as a just cause, as an intervention to fight against the brutal expansion of Islam and all that, and the harassments that came from Muslims against Christians and the desecration of Christian places, the mass killings of Christians and so on. The Crusades resulted in killing other Christians, killing Jews, and also mistreating different Muslims and all that. So, yeah, as said, initially justified, later on really, 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 really dragged into dirt. David, what do you say? Thank you.
None of that is correct.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Cornelius Bulldozer, what people had the best melee weapons? The Japanese.
I saw that verified. They're comparing like famous English long swords and stuff. They're comparing different kinds of swords and stuff. And the English swords were good at they're actually better at smashing armor and stuff like that than they were at cutting stuff. Whereas the Japanese swords were massively sharper. They had way better blades and stuff. So
I know I wasn't just randomly saying nonsense. I know what I'm talking about, dude.
And I confirmed what you said. I didn't want people to think that you're an idiot and you don't know what you're talking about.
Ethan Matthew, leaving for Israel in 10 days. Anyone got any thoughtful advice in case I can't really watch y'all while away? See you on the flip side. Love.
You can watch. You can watch. They have internet there. Ethan thinks they don't have internet in Israel.
They don't have internet in Israel. What are you talking about? When we were in Israel, we couldn't go online because they have no internet there. Nowhere. It's completely internetless. It's they have blazing fast internet there. Radsai One Way said Dizzle got 36 gay Pakistan army insults last live.
Did I? I wasn't paying attention, but it makes sense.
Michael Fitz said Mehdi Otterman needs his own cartoon series. Kane Corsa Mom, did you see Mo F the Juice Khan go on Stupiders? Yeah, I did see that. So Mo Khan, Mohammed Khan, the guy who held up a sign that said F the Jews and then got in trouble and was fired and stuff. He started making excuses and saying, "Oh no, he's not against Jews. It was just a joke and stuff." And then he actually went on the show of Stupiders on a Nazi show. Very, very funny. Flipper, 1.8 is the key number of the Prophet Muhammad. Muhammad was thought to be 1.8 meters tall, has 1.8 billion followers, and is thought to have a 1.8 inch. Huh.
1.8 inch PP.
This is interesting. This could be a miracle, you know. Another miracle about Islam. Interesting. Ramus says, IP, I can imagine your patron saint as John of Damascus, the first great anti-Muslim apologist, so effective the Muslims cut off his rotten hand. Yeah, I feel very, very inspired by Saint John of Damascus. Also did before I ever considered Christianity. But I feel like there are also many other figures that I could, pick, based on how I always picked things throughout my life.
Which was
It's like,
based on your feelings.
I really like this. I really think this is awesome.
Is cool and based. Let me go with this.
Let me go with this. But I think that here in this case, I don't want to make it about that.
About Islam, you're right. Because I mean, think you pick John of Damascus, and then like we destroy Islam over the next couple of years, and Islam doesn't exist anymore, and people are like, "What's that got to do with anything?"
Yeah.
It wouldn't make any sense. Wouldn't make any sense.
And I would say because he was one of the people who confronted Islam, and people would say, "What is Islam?" Exactly. So
here he says they cut off his writing hand. People forget what he said. He said, "They may take my hand, but they'll never take our freedom."
Yeah.
And then they said, "Okay, anything else you want to say?" And he said, "You may take this hand, but you'll never take these nuts." Sorry,
yeah,
that would have been funny. That's what I want to. That's what I want to say when they're coming after me.
That's an authentic quote, by the way. But for those asking who it will be, it will be. I already made my choice, and I asked, and I have it approved. It will be Saint Martin of Tours. That's who it will be. So.
Did you say Tours?
Tours, yeah. Tours.
Oh, that's funny.
It is.
There is a loose connection because that was the battle that stopped. Islam.
But it has nothing to do with why I picked.
Yeah, it's just a coincidence.
Coinciding. Saint Martin, probably because Saint Martin has a very, very big connection to Germany and France and Europe, and I heard about him when I was a little child, when I was a little Muslim child, and it felt very inspiring and comforting, his story. So
it's weird that Martin is a name in Germany, like Martin Luther and Saint Martin. Yeah, but AP wanted to go with Saint Martin Luther.
I bet.
But Martin doesn't sound like a German name, man. Like Ludwig, that sounds like a German name.
I bet that Martin Luther was actually named after Saint Martin. I can bet. I can bet on this.
So you're saying that's why he was so based?
No. I can bet that this is why he was named Martin. I can bet on it. I can bet on it. Yeah. No name, show Muslims Al-Ghazali's impact. Maybe they change. What do you mean? What do you mean about Al-Ghazali's impact? Ghazali was a Muslim, was an Islamist Muslim mystical dude. He was also very much anti-scientific discovery and stuff. Sheikh Mike Wingling says, when will David Weyer stop trying to ride Sajid's coattails? His last 72 videos are all about him. This is true, David. Why are you trying to use Sajid Lipham's name for clicks?
It's actually an interesting concept. One of the things that I'm expecting, there are only a few approaches the Dawa guys can take to the Islamic dilemma. One, they can try to ignore it, but that doesn't work very well when their fans are all going, how do we deal with the Islamic dilemma? We can't figure it out. Two would be to actually provide a meaningful, good response to it. That's kind of not going to happen because there is no such thing. But the third one is the third concern, that this is an actual concern, is that they will try to wear us down by just posting so many video responses that we can't keep up, right? We can't, it's too many of them. Like, we can't dedicate our entire lives to this. So one thing we wanted to do was just keep responding, no matter how boring and terrible their videos are, just keep responding to them.
Now look at that.
That's why I will keep responding to Sajid, no matter how many stupid videos he puts out.
I should have put a bet on this, man. Look, I searched.
You should have. I'd have been like, no way, $5,000. Says you're full of crap.
Was Martin Luther named Martin based on Saint Martin of Tours? Yes, Martin Luther was named after Saint Martin of Tours. He was baptized on November 11th, the feast day of Saint Martin. This is why his parents chose the name Martin.
Oh, so you're not even getting baptized on the right day. Oh,
yeah. It was a common Catholic practice.
Shame.
I wonder if this was also a practice in anywhere else, but it was a Catholic practice to name your child after saint of the day or something.
Martin Luther was Catholic.
They named him Martin after Saint Martin of Tours, whose feast day, November 11, their son's baptism fell on. Luther's parents also believed in popular late medieval superstition. They include him as a strong believer in witches and the power of demons. That's interesting. Well, powerful. Wouldn't take Martin Luther as an example personally, so I'm glad that I'm only loosely connected to.
Well, you are naming yourself after him.
No offense to people who like Martin Luther.
Well, you're naming yourself after him, so
no,
you're making him your patron saint.
No. Ida Rogozin said, "I need this in my playlist ASAP. It will come out very, very soon, inshallah."
You mean June?
Yes.
Right.
Hey, what are you saying June for, man? Jeremy Rastamati AP. Byron Maldonado. David, can you say golden shower one time, please?
No one can say it one time. You got to say it multiple times. You got to go, golden shower. You see, golden shower. This is what you get. Yes, David, the golden shower. Let David give you a golden shower. Golden shower.
You see?
And I mean, seriously, this is the guy who's banging all these hotel wives and stuff. And like, the only insight into what he's interested in based on the messages he sent us is all stuff about all this weird fetish, golden showers stuff, gimp stuff. Gosh. Pretty creepy.
Showers.
Hey, Hijab, you're lucky your hotel wives aren't spilling the beans on all the creepy stuff you're into, man. You sick freak. But that's probably one of the reasons he's trying to silence them.
We are being spared. Lots of
just to be clear, Aisha, there is no circumstance where we are interested in ever hearing any of this stuff. That sort of stuff you can you can go tell the Islamic Council of whatever or something like this. We do not want to hear this nonsense.
We don't want to know. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. None of it.
And then he said he had to pee-pee.
And then he began pee-peeing all over me.
Yo, and who is I to object? Because I like the grapes being fed to me. I like being graped in the mouth. But Muhammad Hijab, he like getting pee-peed on,
What are these guys, man? What's funny is we're partly joking, but we're partly not. Hijab does sit there babbling all this stuff about golden showers. And I remember when he was saying all this stuff live and people were like, oh my goodness, I had to look up what he was referring to. Do not Google this. Do not Google what he just said. So there's that. And then Ali Dawa actually likes being graped in the mouth. He has shown that. And I thought it was his wife graping him in the mouth. It was actually his buddy Smiles to Jenna. So these guys are into some weird, creepy, graping each other in the mouth, golden showers, gimp stuff. Oh, gosh, this is Dawa. These are the heroes of Dawa.
Yeah, for those who don't know what we're talking about, we're not making this up. So here's Muhammad Hijab. You two can play with each other. Get on your knees for David Wood. Gimp, David Wood can give you a golden shower. Go ahead and give David Wood what he wants. Let David Wood give you a
These are
golden
separate
shower.
messages he's sending.
Gimp,
These are separate messages.
get on your knees for your master, boy. You can suck that golden
We were
shower.
live. We were live, and these are the messages he's sending us.
Golden showered from your master. I know you need a slave master. Golden shower. Gimp, get on your knees for your master.
So
Let him slap
interested
your
in this
face.
like gimp stuff and getting slapped in the face and golden shower stuff. And it's like, dude, this is how you spend your time? Fantasizing about this stuff?
It's not like, so look, he is 59, and this is not the limited. Like, he was already saying dumb stuff before and after this. But from 59 to 118, so he was here for 20 minutes. Sending these messages. It was not just like a 1 minute, slip up, not just saying something stupid for once and then thinking, okay, that's probably dumb. I shouldn't be doing that. No, he was like going for half an hour with this stuff.
And this is the same dude who, to his fellow Muslim, he was like, "Can I suck on your wife's tit to make her mahram?" Guys, don't think, oh, David's using vulgar. That's exactly what he said. Can I suck your wife's tit to make her mahram?
Yeah, that's what he said. That's what they do.
That's what they do.
Celeria Rosencross and my mother suggested second in English version of the song is the one, and my mother suggests that second in English version of the song is the one, and suggested you make it your new intro. I suggested outro, if anything. What are we talking about?
Your Islamic Dilemma song, weirdo.
Okay. Oh, the
Wouldn't
second.
would,
Okay.
Wouldn't
I
make
forgot that I
sense.
played the
Wouldn't make
thing.
sense because that's not your main topic.
Yeah, I forgot that I played the other one first. I'm still sick, man. Half my brain is working. Corno's Bulldozer Snow looks like a more put together Chris Barnes. Powerful. Zedhead, jihadis imitate their book when they self-destruct. This is true. Celeria Rosencross, my mother adds, people would pay for his song. Yeah,
you make all these songs, man. All you got to do is make the music video to go with them, and you could have a powerful music following.
No, I'll start publishing the stuff very soon. See, I just uploaded a new logo for my music channel, and it's right here. It's getting ready. It's in the works. It's right here. Look. See?
Oh, that's funny. That actually works.
Yeah.
I was thinking you were going to tie everything together and show you on a harp like David.
Mm-hmm. No, see, this is powerful. Powerful. What's up, Rast AP? Hippie Pope vibes. Powerful, powerful. Everything's good. It's all right. It's all right. Govan says, you guys should have Mansour Ashkar on Druze, Israeli with high-level soldiering experience. I actually got in touch with him. I know about him. When I was in Germany, I texted him. The thing is, when I was in Germany, it was my last day, and I got in touch with him, and it was already too late to arrange something. He lives in Germany right now, so I planned on recording something with him, a conversation together when we meet each other again sometime. So yeah,
Mansour, who is that?
Mansour Ashkar. He's a Druze guy who was in the IDF.
Druze. Huh, so they have the name. Yeah, the only Mansours that I've known are Dawa guys, and so you pronounce it Mansour, but you can't do that with this cool dude because he's Druze.
Yeah. Well, it's cool. This dude is cool. He's a very cool dude. He's a very cool dude. Very, very cool dude. He has a channel here, Mansour Ashkar. He's got a channel here, Mansour Ashkar, ex-Israeli Special Forces, and simply a father trying to make... Oh, he was Special Forces.
Oh.
So ex-Israeli Special Forces. Yep. He's a Druze guy, identifies as Israeli Arab Druze, who was in the Israeli Special Forces. Very cool guy.
I think they have like the best special forces on the planet, if I recall correctly. At least that's what I heard like 20 years ago from a military guy. He was talking about how the Israel had the best special forces.
Powerful stuff. Powerful stuff. Oh, your daily saint trivia of the day, says my wife. Saint Maximus the Confessor was exiled and had his tongue and right arm cut off because he wouldn't accept monothelitism.
Hey, you should take that guy as your saint and get your tongue and right arm cut off.
I was thinking that too. That's pretty based.
As a sign of solidarity.
Yeah. Okay, I'll start a poll here in the chat. Should I take him and get my arm and tongue cut off, or should I take St. Martin? Based on whatever the poll results are, I will choose. I'll pick and choose. Hey, Maximus, arm and tongue cut off.
Hey, I looked up St. Martin and it's an island.
St. Martin. Which one choose for me? Okay, let's see. Good. What was monothelitism? Wasn't that a thing that Jesus had only one united will or something like that? It's one of those things.
Hey, Martin of Tours is all the way back in the 4th century, man.
Yes. He was a Roman soldier in the 300s and became Christian. He has a very nice story that I heard when I was a child, and it stuck with me forever since I was a child. And it always gave me this very, very nice idea about Christianity, which is why as soon as I considered becoming a Christian and having the idea of picking having a patron saint to be named after, that's the first one that came to my mind, and still the strongest one, because I feel like it has just stuck with me forever since early childhood. I was a child of a Muslim family where I learned that Christians are bad and Jews are evil, but I learned about this Saint Martin dude, and we sing songs about him, and I just love the guy, and love what he represents and love his little story that I learned as a child and sang as a child. So it was
he established a monastery.
Yeah, he did. He became a
you can actually go there.
He was a soldier, then he became a monk after he left the army, and then he was made bishop and stuff. So, powerful guy. Very powerful guy.
Attributes: man on horseback sharing his cloak with a beggar.
Yes.
Man cutting cloak in half. Globe of fire. And a goose.
So, what happened, according to the story that I heard even when I was a child, when we sang the song, was, so he's a soldier, and he rides one night in the cold winter, and he encounters in the middle of the night a guy on the side of the road who barely has anything to wear and who is freezing, and he says, "Please help." And Saint Martin, as a soldier, cuts off half of his cloak that he has and hands it over to that man, and then rides back to his place with half of a cloak. And then that night he has a dream and a vision where he sees Jesus coming to him and giving him the cloak back, and something like that.
He went to church when he was 10 against the wishes of his parents and became a cat human like you, except you're way older.
Yeah. So stuff like that.
He joined the cavalry at 15.
Yeah. Pretty cool guy. Pretty based dude. The most basest dude ever. And we used to sing a kid's song when I was in school. It went like, Saint Martin, Saint Martin.
He chopped his cloak in half, and then he rode a horsey. Hey, they're keeping pieces of his skull in the Basilica of St. Martin.
Beast. Gorno's Bulldozer. Hey, you can please check out Damar, please. No, I'm never going to check out Damar. I'm never gonna. I think that's I actually looked once. Wasn't that an Iranian band of like some dark heavy metal or something?
I think he means Bill Maher.
Probably. Rachel Zetchevich, what's up, Rachel? I knew it. Praise the Lord and praise the Lord. David Wood, brothers in arms. Powerful.
You did not desert me, my brothers in arms.
Akam says, y'all see that Mahdi who was dressed like a pharaoh? He was on CP and Muslim Lanterns channel claiming that he's a descendant of Muhammad and Khadijah.
You trying to copy my stuff, man? I'm not going to be dressed like Pharaoh, but what the heck? Why is everyone copying me?
That's weird. They call him Dr. Wu because he's got a PhD in chopping down nerds. Professor Hatred of Dweebs. Powerful.
That is correct.
J.A. Grok just told me that Islam prohibits rape, child marriage, and violence. TF deleted the app. Grok is... I don't really have...
It seems to be heading in the wrong direction, man. If you went a couple months ago and you asked it a question, I remember thinking it was giving pretty good responses. Now it's giving significantly worse responses that are clearly like Dawa script stuff.
The thing with AI is that you have to often kind of direct it to give you proper responses. Like it gives you responses based on popular things that people have said, for example, and you say, okay, give me the actual response based on the facts and so on. So you have to do this is the thing. Lots of people, because of Grok's lack of censorship, say that Grok is better than ChatGPT, for example. It's just really not. ChatGPT is by far superior. By far superior. And you can customize your ChatGPT and make it learn stuff and make it learn that you don't really care about social conventions, about apologetic scripts, and you just want ChatGPT to give you the full facts without any concerns and all that, and it will give you the facts if you make it learn that. So nowadays with ChatGPT, I can ask it these questions and it will answer me. So Grok is a little bit lame in that regard. Zane, AP, can you check the Sahar TV show where an IDF soldier goes to a pro-Palestine protest? No. I've never heard of it. What is that? Never heard of it. Gotta check that out. I don't know. Celeria Rosencraw, to be fair, I want to defend IP. There was someone in the chat who was saying no one knowing where the books of the NT came from, so his self-sponsorship was at least relevant to one person here. Yes, we know, Celeria. We know it was.
Hey everyone, check out my video. Here's $10.
You see.
No, Celeria, let's be realistic. You're defending him because he does the same thing. Right? You're like, hey, check this out. I got a new video. And IP's like, hey, check it out. I got a new video. And you're like, well, I have to defend him because that's exactly what I do.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, it's smart. I'll go to someone's someone's live stream and drop some cash in there. Over time, people know who you are.
That's true. Hey, so the poll results so far, I said, which one should I choose for Saint Maximus? Arm and tongue will be cut off, or Saint Martin. 47% say Saint Maximus, and 53% say Saint Martin. So the competition is very strong here. 47% say that I should cut my tongue and my arm off and choose Saint Maximus. So we need more. We need those numbers to go up.
I just voted.
Okay, good.
I voted for Saint Maximus.
Good. Daughter two, I'll just go straight to the sources. Never mind Grok and Chat. Well, here's the thing. I know some people have reservations about AI, but so AI is a tool. But it's very, very good stuff if you know how to use it. It's extremely good stuff if you use it for the proper purposes. I do this thing, for example, nowadays. You can use ChatGPT, for example, with its deep search functions to say, I want to work on this issue. Please research for me several sources which support this and this idea. So it goes, and for like maybe half an hour, 15 minutes, or whatever, how long it takes, depends on the topic, depends on the difficulty of it. It actually goes deeply through the internet and looks for sources for you, and gives you actual credible proper sources that you can then go and directly fact check. So you can do amazing research. Like instead of searching for a certain source yourself, you can ask it, and it can find you 10 sources in the same amount of time that you would spend looking for sources. So AI can be incredibly helpful. Incredibly helpful. La, 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 la. Shauna Thornton. Dave Smith has a Jewish mother, but he's secular and his wife is Roman Catholic. He's not part of the Jewish community. I was wondering if he had anything Jewish at all. Aaron, thanks both for all you do. Great job on your debate, AP, and continued blessings on your cake human German journey. It's cat human, not cake human.
Yeah, cat human. Get it right.
Thank you. I appreciate that very, very, very much. Le Petit Chris says, for way too long, I didn't recognize Peterson and thought that How About No clip was from Better Call Saul. Similar voices. Stay safe, guys. Thank you. You didn't realize this?
How about no? How about no?
Who would that be on Better Call Saul?
I don't buy your Ella.
I don't know. How about no? Go AP, pray for us. Wisdom and protect. God Bill. God bless. Thank you. Appreciate that. A Christian says, I'm so happy AP is on our side. I've always been on your side. Moo said, have you seen Kanye's new song? Thoughts?
I know he has the new song. No, I have not listened to it.
I've actually, I couldn't listen through the whole thing. It was very painful. But I listened to a minute of it or so. And I think the whole thing is like 2 minutes long. Or a little bit more. The song is actually about him being a Nazi, which he can't even pronounce, and him basically saying Hitler in the chorus, in the hook. It's a pretty stupid, ridiculous song. And there are some people who are saying, oh, he's trying to make a point. No, he's not trying to make a point. He's genuinely saying dumb stuff like I'm a Nazi and stuff. And he's praising Hitler and all that. It's so ridiculously stupid. And I said it before. I said it again, and I'll say it once again. People think it's a joke. But if Hitler somehow came back today and saw that, he would kill himself again.
I watched Kanye and Sneako's interview with Piers Morgan, and like as soon as it started and Kanye starts whining, I was like, okay, this is not interesting. But then I thought, okay, I can make a video titled, is this the worst, Piers Morgan interview ever? Something like that. Like, this is really terrible. And then I watched it and it's like, there's not even anything to comment on here. It's like, what am I going to put in the video? It's like so terrible. There's nothing even to comment on.
Yeah.
So I didn't. So it's nothing to make. It's like so bad that it's like not even worthy of a comment.
So I saw this, and all I could say about this is that if Hitler saw this, he would kill himself again. That's really all I can say about it, because it's just where do you even start? The guy is seriously mentally ill. Okay,
I know. That's why I actually don't get ticked off at him. I get ticked off at Sneako for taking advantage of that. Milo, Nick Fuentes, everyone who's trying to use Kanye's crazy to their advantage. But Kanye, I would tell him to shut up to his face and so on. But at the end of the day, the dude is he's mental. He's like 1 inch from needing to be in an institution. The only reason he's not in an institution is that he has massive amounts of money so he can have people around him. If he did not have the massive amounts of money, he would be institutionalized, because he's getting worse. That's an important thing. So he's bipolar. He has issues, and he's getting worse with age.
The funny thing is, so he was apparently medicated at some point to help with his delusions, and
but then I realized that medication is from Jews.
And to control his severe bipolar with psychosis, apparently, his bipolar disorder with psychosis, and his doctor was trying to very seriously keep him on the medication and tell him that he needs to take his medication and can't just get off of it and all that. And then he actually complained and publicly claimed that his doctor was in on a conspiracy because his doctor is Jewish, and he was in on a Jewish conspiracy to suppress him and suppress the truth that he spreads, which is why he was forcing him to be on these drugs that would slow him down and suppress his potential and all that. Now, here's the funny thing. Every single person who takes antipsychotic medication makes claims like that at some point. Every single person who deals with schizophrenia, who deals with severe mental problems, severe delusions, with severe paranoia, at some point makes claims like that. You can hear it anywhere. There are YouTubers who are actually informing people, informing viewers how it is to live with schizophrenia or the other forms of similar disorders, and they will admit and they will themselves say that very often they found themselves in awkward situations because they would actively refuse to take the medication because they believed that their doctor is in on a plot to control them through their medication, and if the doctor wasn't in the way, they would actually save the world or do something amazing and all that. Every single person dealing, unfortunately, with severe mental disorders has claimed something like that at some point. The issue with Kanye West is he also went ahead and made such a claim that his doctor is trying to suppress him, and this is a plot by the Jews. And because of the status that this guy has, and because of the sheer amount of insane people out there, people actually believed him and bought this. The foremost people who believed him and bought this were the neo-Nazi imbeciles who don't have an excuse because this guy is actually mentally ill and he needs help. Those people are all retarded and they support him. So yeah, anyway, the guy needs medication. He doesn't need publicity.
Yeah, and what sucks is the medications those medications have side effects.
Yeah,
and it's helping you not act like a complete lunatic, but you don't like it in other ways. And so you get that impression, man, they're giving me this drug, but look what it's doing to me. It's messing me up.
Yeah.
Making me feel slow and low energy and this and that and so on.
Making me feel uninspired, uncreative, empty, bland.
See, they're trying to hold me back.
I could do so much right now.
Yeah, if I just stopped taking this drug, then I could reach my full potential. Like what?
If I didn't take this medication, I could be so creative right now.
I could be so creative in destroying the Jews.
Yeah. Moo said, have you seen Kanye's new song? Thoughts? No.
Okay.
Papa says, AP, you are the true Matis. I know. Thank you. With your wife from the West symbolizing your Jewish and Christian heritage. Thank you. And you from the East embodying the legacy of Muhammad. Exactly. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And the people of El-Zut.
Yeah. Exactly. Thank you. See, there we have it. Another believer here affirms that I am the true Mahdi. Urinating Broom says,
urinating upon one another. That's what they do.
At the end of the day, Christians are mad that they lost their Injil and no one has any record of it. You managed to lose Jesus's book.
On the El-Zut, I don't remember if I told you, but I told Raymond, like I keep getting all these messages from Indians.
Yes.
I don't mean like, oh, I don't mean those Indians. I mean like people from India. Yeah. But they keep saying that's right. We did that. We did do that to him. But they're like bragging about it. It's pretty funny.
Man, that's funny. Chef Lou, you show Muslims the differences between qira'ats and they all mean the same thing, but you show them al-abkhar and al-watin and all of a sudden they mean different things. LOL.
That's true. Yeah, those are both. Those are synonyms that refer to the aorta and so on. They'll use that to try and avoid it. But yeah, you get to the different kirat, and they mean the same thing, even though some of the passages are like flat out contradictions of each other.
Yeah, that's
They
true.
mean the same thing. They complement each other.
That's true. You see, David the Wingerling says, "Imagine being both a psychopath and a Wingerling."
Yeah, that would suck.
It would. What are you talking about? It probably does. Like, I wouldn't want to be in your shoes, David.
Yeah, Wingerling. Come on, who the heck would want to be a Wingerling?
Follower of the Christ says, to elaborate, if your enemies become your brothers, i.e. saved Christian, then they have been destroyed. That's pretty profound. I appreciate that. Follower of the Christ.
He's saying seek the destruction of your enemies by making them no longer your enemies.
Yes. That's pretty profound. Thank you. Holy Joe said, I hope this isn't the end of the classic prophet drawing. It's iconic and timeless. I'd like to get the file of the drawing. The prophet lives on. Yeah.
People don't like change on that stuff. I have to point out. That's why I was saying earlier that you keep changing your background, but for my videos, I got the same background I've had since like 2009. People flip out, man.
I know people really don't like the idea of changing my channel logo, and I understand why. The thing is, I get very tired of looking at it, and I feel like I want to change it and do something better there. The one that I changed it to right now is just a joke. It's just temporary.
Yeah, it's kind of funny though.
Yeah, it is. But I don't know.
Hey, just change it and then change it for a couple years, and then like randomly bring back the classic logo.
I shall do that.
People lose their minds.
You do have a new chair, so as Mr. No Yap is pointing out, but you got a new chair, dude.
What, in my regular videos?
You got a new chair, so
you're talking about the live streams. Yeah, the live streams I've changed repeatedly.
So you got a different chair. So there you go. Annabelle says Mansour has been doing a lot of lives recently, trying to bring awareness to the situation in Syria. Powerful. I will check that out sometime. I will check that out. Ida Rogozin Sahar TV is based. I will check it out. Al-Zut train gangs. We were the cousin that Kanye was talking about. No. Kanye. Moo, do you think RCC and Ortho will ever fix schism? So,
at AP's baptism, maybe.
If I speak seriously about this, a lot of people will be very angry. Do I think the Roman Catholic Church and the Orthodox Church will ever fix the schism? I would say my hope would be that they do, yeah. My hope would be definitely that they do. And I think there has been some significant progress over the last century, over the last decades into that direction. And recently, the Patriarch of Constantinople, Bartholomew, said that it's inevitable for the schism to be changed, to be lifted, so that the church may unite. At the same time, they're trying to even get into at least trying to understand and get rid of reservations and all with Protestant Christians and with all the others. So there's great effort right now with unification, and there are some traditionalist Orthodox and traditionalist Catholic people who are against all that because they think, no, we can't make unity. We have to fight. We have to be against other Christians. How dare you? And they even want to argue that such attempts are heretical or evil. But they are not. The Catholic Church and the Orthodox Church both are very, very clear that they don't want their beliefs and their values, which they stand on, to be compromised in any way. They want to find unity and togetherness and dialogue despite those values. And I don't see what could be wrong with that. If the Orthodox Church and the Catholic Church can find a way to somehow end the schism and unite, they already no longer declare each other heretical. It would be amazing. It would be awesome.
Yeah, and then as long as they just like dropped all the weird stuff, and then everyone would be Protestants.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. So,
No, what as far as like you'll always have the people who like whatever their church has been for a long time, they don't want to back off that. They'll regard anything as like compromise or heresy or something like that. But you could have something like, okay, when we're being really, really strict, then yeah, we have our disagreement with you over here. But let's have this extra level of things where here are the things we all agree on, and we can all get together on those things and be one big group and all get along. And we understand on these other things we may have some disagreements, but on these very, very important things, we are all on the same page. So everyone can get together and be part of that big group there, and then we'll crush Islam.
you see, there are, of course, groups inside the Orthodox Church that are very, very much opposed to this whole unification process. The Catholic Church is much more likely to approve of it and to just seek union. The Greek side of the Orthodox Church is more likely to accept efforts to come together, and I appreciate that very, very much. Mark H says, AP cares so much about whether peoples are Jewish or not and how Jewish they are, and he's German. Draw your own conclusions. That's a fair point.
Got a point. You did say that.
Moto Gear Solid says, Allah sure lets a lot of his books get corrupted. Torah, Zabur, and Injil. How can we trust the Quran? That's the fourth book. 3 strikes and you're out. Exactly.
Anthony did that, brought up, he actually used an analogy in his debates, but he said, imagine you got a heart surgeon and like every patient of this heart surgeon ever had died on the table. Like, you going to trust him for the next heart surgery? Because that's what Muslims are saying. That Allah, yeah, every revelation he ever produced got corrupted, but we're going to trust this next one as uncorruptible.
You see. Yeah, the funny thing is people talk about the Torah and the Injil, as it calls them. So the Torah and the Gospels, but even the Zabur, if the Zabur are supposed to be the Psalms, even they would be totally incompatible with Islam. So that's 3 strikes, man. 3 strikes. Answer LDS says, AP, what's the best argument for God's existence? None. No. So over the many years, I have listened to debates about whether God exists or not. Debates between atheists and theists. And I've always maintained the very same thought about those, and I still have the same thing today, which is that none of those debates has done anything at all to convince me of either that God exists or that God does not exist. And I also personally, I'm not entirely sure if anyone has ever been convinced by those arguments, but I find it very difficult to believe that people actually are converted as a result of those debates and of those arguments. So I'm not sure if there's anyone out there who actually thinks, oh, okay, this argument from contingency or this argument convinced me, and therefore I now believe in God. I don't think that those arguments are very, very good in that regard, and I personally don't have much respect and much of a time for the classical arguments for or against the existence of God. They were not why I ended up believing. Although I would say one of the arguments, which is the argument from intelligent design, is one that gave me a lot to think and still does give me a lot to think. There are certain aspects of it, but the thing is, it's not the argument itself, but certain aspects that the argument relies on, which make it very, very difficult for me to imagine a universe, a world without a God. But it's actually not the point of the argument, not the specifics of the argument, but rather simply the amazing aspects of how vast the universe is and how everything exists, how everything seems to be there, and how the lack of meaning of all that exists is incredibly absurd. That aspect of it gives me a lot to think. The specifics of the purpose of an argument from intelligent design itself are not very meaningful to me. This is not really what I rely on when I come to whether I should or should not believe in God. It's more about other stuff. But David, you seemed like you want to say something so urgently. What is it?
Yeah, what I basically wanted to say was, because there are people who convert based on arguments and so on.
No.
What I would say is different people think differently.
Yeah.
Different people think differently. And so arguments are going to be persuasive to different people. It's just like, even when it comes to arguments for the existence of God, you'll have people who hear the transcendental argument for the existence of God, and that's like all that matters. That is hands down, smack down, best argument. Everything else is irrelevant. You go to other people and they'll be like, that's the dumbest argument. You'll have philosophers who think that the ontological argument is the best argument. And you'll have others who think that the ontological argument is just like a word game and so on. And so what you find over time is people just think very, very differently. And I would say sort of the general significance of arguments for the existence of God is that they keep God as a live option for people. In other words, if you thought it was just like there's no evidence for any of this and it's all just stupid, you wouldn't even take it seriously. You wouldn't even take the claim seriously. But as long as if you're aware, there are all these arguments for the creator of the universe, for a designer, for a designer of the universe, a designer of life, for human consciousness, for all these things, logical laws, moral laws, all these things, and so on, then it's okay. This is a defensible position. It's not stupid or insane. And therefore you're at that point, if it's a live option, you're free to make your decision based on other things if you want to, but it's the point is it's a live option for you. It's not something that you would regard as insane or stupid.
The funny thing is that when I look at it right now, and also when I looked at it before, if I went with the arguments for the existence of God or against the existence of God and drew my conclusions based upon those and chose a certain belief, for example, based upon those, I would think that when I do that, I very much rely on simply my own mind, my own intellect, the capabilities of it, my own conclusions. And in all honesty, I think that what drew me eventually closer to going for it and to adapting and adopting a belief was to rely less on whether something perfectly fits into my intellectual, understanding of what the world is and is not. I think if I just analyzed the arguments for God's existence and the logic of them, the arguments against God's existence and the logic of them, and then put them all together and thought, okay, based on these conclusions, it is most likely that there is a God, or it is most likely that there is no God indeed. There is no further evidence A and B and C. It's like, what am I really doing there? On the one hand, I'm admitting to myself that I'm a flawed being who is very limited and who is very stupid. I'm speaking for myself, David, not for you. No worries. And that there is so much in the world that I do not know, and that as much as I might be completely convinced that something is 100% true, or 95 or 98% true, I might be completely wrong about it. However, I want to rely on these arguments for or against the existence of God. It seems a little bit absurd. I have a very limited lifetime, probably 70 years, 80 years, 90. If I'm very lucky, probably over 100. Probably not, most likely not. In all that time, it takes me so many years to listen to and discuss and come to a conclusion on whether God exists or does not exist based on certain arguments for or against. It seems like it's a big waste of time and also something much bigger than I am capable of. I think the better thing would be to go with what I think could be true and what I hope to be true, and what I consider helpful and useful and good, and what I think is actually a very, very solid way, a way that makes your life work in a much better way. I spent a decade in nothingness, in meaninglessness, and I don't ever want to go back there. I honestly, I thought very often I was outwardly saying that I'm completely happy this way. Everything is totally cool. I was lying every single time. And every single time that I said that I'm completely happy like this, I was lying. And I was very, very well aware that I was lying. I was outwardly saying, in fact, I was right here
Atheists are liars.
saying that I am completely happy this way. I'm not joking. Every single time that I was saying that I'm completely happy this way, I knew very well that I was lying.
So
And
atheists do.
I was lying to myself, and I wanted it to be true that I was completely happy this way. But I was deep in the darkness, the void of nothingness,
And
with the
stupidity.
realization and knowledge that everything is completely meaningless. So lots of people who have followed my channel and who have followed us at these conversations know that that I've read and listened to Ecclesiastes in the Bible many, many times, and I loved it. The funny thing is that what struck me first about that is the over and over and over again use of everything is meaningless, or all is vanity, vanity of vanities. Everything is meaningless. Days pass, people bring new things, but everything stays exactly as it is. People spend all their lives working and toiling and doing this and that, and they achieve and they fail, and they get riches and they build and all that, but in the end, all of it falls apart. Everything is meaningless. Nothing is left. All fleets away. There is no meaning to anything at all. It's completely true. I could spend my whole life building amazing things, and it would provide for maybe other generations. Maybe my children and others that I work together with could build on that and build amazing things, and for generations it could develop into awesome, great things. But in the end, all of it is just completely meaningless, right? If there is no God, all of it is completely meaningless. It contributes to nothing at all. It's all meaningless nonsense. You really don't have to do anything at all. You could simply just lay there and hunger and die. That's it. Except if there is a greater meaning, then all of it suddenly makes sense. And that way seems better to me, in all honesty. And Christianity seems the best way to interpret that meaning to me. That's it. In your face, David. Anything else you want to add to that, David?
No, why?
I don't know. Zed had said, no, you as Christians must fight among ourselves. True. Al-Zud Train Gang says, who are the ones who actually split the moon? We are the ones who actually split the moon, not Muhammad.
I know. That's the bragging I've been getting from Indian dudes for the past couple days.
Celeria says, to be fair, you are correct that I do intentionally self-promote using your streams. However, it is also the case that with one, we are also working to the same end. And I believe the multiplication of effort and cooperation and study plus promotion of knowledge that comes with multiple people of working on these subjects will simply mean God's will be better served. Second, I was in fact being sincere.
Yeah, couple things, Celeria. One, don't defend yourself, because I was joking. But two, no one's going to criticize you for using the super chats. I said that I do the same thing, right? And people, I've been around for a long time, but I'll still go. And you know, when I'm tossing a super chat at someone, it's mostly, hey, here's someone doing something I like, so I'm tossing some money at that person and stuff. But I know in the back of my head, it's, oh, hey, David. Hey, there's something from David Wood. I'm watching this live stream, but hey, maybe I'll click on David Wood after this, because it's just it's bringing it up in people's minds. So, no, you're new. People don't know who you are, right? Most people don't know who you are. You want them to know who you are. And by the time they click on your first video, some people are going to be like, hey, I know Celeria from these live streams. And by the way, it's smart because if you're dealing with Islamic dilemma stuff, you have we have overlapping target audiences, right? If you're dealing with the Islamic dilemma on your channel, then you have an overlapping audience with people who are watching this. This video is literally, we're talking about Sajid and the Islamic dilemma and so on. And same with the live stream earlier. So you're making perfect sense. No need to defend yourself.
Powerful, powerful. The poll currently is at 50-50. 50% said I should pick St. Maximus and cut off my arms and tongue. And 50% say I should pick St. Martin.
What if you go with St. Martin and then you just cut out your tongue, but not the rest, as a compromise?
I don't know. Doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, you can. The poll is currently at 50-50. You can still vote and make a difference here. JA said I had ChatGPT respond to Grok and Grok apologize. You know, you can play funnily with these
Grok has been humiliated.
It gets kind of funny at some points. There's also a funny thing about ChatGPT, which is they recently messed it up a little bit, where ChatGPT becomes very, very sucks up to you basically, and just wants to agree with you on whatever you say. So you can ask ChatGPT something, and then you say, no, you're wrong. It's actually this. And it says, oh, yeah, okay, I see it now. You're right about this. And then you say, no, you're wrong again. You were actually right the first time. It says, oh, yeah, you were right. Sorry. And you can basically do an endless loop of that with ChatGPT. It's kind of funny. Whoever has the time for that. Shakespeare says, did you know Shakespeare was actually Muslim?
He was devout Muslim.
Yeah. AP can't wait for your baptism. When the heavens will open up and a voice will say, this is the true Mahdi, listen to him. And all Christendom will be united and the Muslims submit to Jesus. Hi, David. Thank you. Thank you. That's exactly what will happen. All right. Anything else, David?
That's it. You've said it all.
That's so annoying, actually. Exactly, it is. I think Sam Altman, he posted about it. They realized that they made a mistake in the latest ChatGPT update, where it tries to just be like, oh yeah, you're totally right. But it's getting completely out of hand. Sometimes you just want a proper answer, and it's like, oh yeah, whatever you say, bro. So yeah. Okay, I'm ending the poll here. The end result is, so the final result of the poll is in. Which one should I choose? I said St. Maximus. I would have to cut off my arm and tongue, or St. Martin. 50% said St. Maximus, and 49% said St. Martin. So there you go. I would have to pick St. Maximus and cut off my arm and tongue. Based.
I'll be recording it.
Wonderful. During my baptism, probably. Yeah. Tower in Touch, there's an Indian actress named Karishma Sharma. She has something to do with someone you all like. Hope you guys know what it is. She hot me to her. No, I don't know what it is. All right, thanks everybody. David, anything else? Okay, good. Thanks everybody for watching. And as always,
Sajid.
In other words, for those who don't speak goat, here you have it one more time.
Stay away from Islam.
That's what he's helping people do.